understand that I don't wanna play your game.
The Earth is very flat.
What's going on? It is Monday, August 9th, 2021. Yes, folks, it is August already. The summer, at least up here in the north, is just flying by, unfortunately, but we still got a little bit left, so it's all good. We got PJ Cruikshank, Gadget Inspector, Logan's Run, Arwen, Bill G, Rune Thornson, Gadget Inspector, Dan Morris, Bill G, page 42, and Rune Thornson came in first tonight. Oh no, I'm sorry, I had to scroll up more. Sorry, Rune. PJ Cruikshank, that is. And the Plain Truth's up there. And good to see everybody out there. Silent Zero, what's up, man? PJ, looks like you got yourself in a little bit of potential trouble and volunteered yourself to take Nathan's spot in the debate with cats. That'd be interesting. I'd like to see that. I'm not sure that I've ever seen you debate or anything like that, so that'd be kind of cool. Bill says sounds good. Thank you very much, Bill. Appreciate it. Brandon Cook, Ask and Receive. Logan's Run. What's up, guys? All right. What do we got going on tonight? It's Monday. It's coming off of a long weekend. Looks like we got plenty of folks in the Discord. I've got a few things, a few tricks up my sleeve. Keep the conversation going. And we'll see where it goes.
Might have hit on it.
What's going on, guys? We're live. How's it going?
What up?
What up? What up? Got Bev, Conrad, Face One, Farming Ganja, Geo, His Ether Bandiness, Kitty, Not So Soft Paws, Matrix Media, Phoenix Rising 86, Rob, On the Level, Keen, SE Montreal, Stu Unger, and Sugar Cookie. What's new, guys? How was your weekend?
Pretty good. How about yours?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Fantastic, except I don't get a day off this weekend. I worked every day.
Work in your own shop, Rob, or do you work in like somebody else's shop? Just curious. You set your own hours?
I work at a shop, like at an auto parts store. I do the servicing.
Okay. Yeah, because I always hear you say random shit, like just talking about random shit.
Yeah. I get hot mics. Sometimes I leave my mic on by accident. I'm sorry about
that. No, it's not a big deal.
Everybody come in yelling at me, "Are you done yet? Are you done yet?"
Anyway, so what's new? What's new in the Flat Earth verse? Flat Earth verse?
Oh, just getting banned from places, you know. Not allowed over at Jose's anymore.
Now, I've listened to a couple conversations recently that have taken place over at Jose's. Been in the audience for a couple of them. I think Bev was in a couple. And who else? Somebody else. Bev, they were you and Sean G. I think I listened to that.
Yeah, I've been banned from Jose's today.
Today?
Yeah. My son.
Oh.
Well, I put a video out earlier. I don't know whether you've seen it. We've got a big long video going over with Larry Scott because we've dealt with all of the surveyors within the Globe community, the Globe surveyors. Because like as you say, there is no Globe surveyors, but there's a lot of people that pretend to be Globe surveyors. So I've been talking to them. That's been my main mission. And Sean G put himself out as a Globe surveyor, measuring curvature. And then we had a visit from Larry. Larry came over to have a chat.
Oh.
And he was telling us about triangles with more than 180 degrees.
It's a hot topic these days.
Yeah, I told my lad as we were having tea. And then he came in and he was curious. And he asked Larry, how do you do it? How do you measure these triangles with more than 180 degrees? And I don't know. I think he made a fool out of Larry because, as we all know, you can't measure a triangle with more than 180 degrees. It's a concept. It's not real. You can't. The triangles only have 180 degrees. It can be calculated to have more, but the actual triangle that you'll end up with will have 180 degrees because it's got straight sides.
Yep.
So, obviously, that upset Jose enough for him to go on a tirade and a load of expletives and ended up getting us banned.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll have to go check that out.
It's a question, right? It's how do you measure a triangle with more than 180 degrees? I mean,
That's my
I'd
question
say
too.
it's impossible. Yeah.
I just want to know, it's tough to even get to the point where you're talking about how you measure it because you get bogged down in, well, no, it's a spherical triangle. It's not a real triangle. Like, okay, then, you have to define it. It's line of sight. It's straight lines, 3 points connected. How did you measure that with more than 180 degrees? And then it just goes on all kinds of fucking weird places.
Yeah, but when you guys know this, but when the last scientist died, calculations became measurements. Okay, so if you've got 3 points out on the ocean, you're just going to have line of sight. We all know this. You're going to get a triangle. The only way you're going to curve that bitch is to calculate shit. You're not measuring curve.
Right.
So I don't know why we keep talking about it. That's as simple as it gets. Oh, no, measurements are, or calculations are measurements. No, all of those things, they have redefined that shit. I'm telling you, when that last scientist died, they rewrote shit.
It's not science. It's geometry.
Okay, that's fine. I get you. When the last mathematician died, right? They rewrote shit.
Well, no, I think it's just a complete misunderstanding and a complete misinterpretation, right? You've been dealt in this world, right? And in this arena that you're all in, there's maths, right? And that's geometry. Well, non-Euclidean geometry was made up by mathematicians. That isn't ever practiced in reality. There's only one geometry of reality, and that's what surveyors use. Well, you're getting fooled by people who tell you they use the other geometry. They don't.
Right. I think that we have to get to the question that is asked: why did they impose this spherical geometry? And it would have to be because of the globe model, in my opinion.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
There was remember those charts that I used to bring up? Oh, I think I've got them open. Your question, why did they make up spherical geometry? It's a good question. I don't know the answer to it, but there might be some hints in some shit we've looked at in the past.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If you wanted to build a hobbit hole whose door is a circle, you're going to need to know that kind of geometry. I get that, but that's got nothing to do with the ground that we're walking on. There's no reason to impose spherical geometry on a triangulation over the ocean. None.
Right. So 2 pictures. Oh, let me share my screen here. I don't know. Does anybody know what the provenance of spherical geometry is? Why it was developed? I mean, I'm trying to think of an application where we're measuring spheres in reality.
Right.
I don't think anybody
building
spheres.
The diameter. No, just the diameter. The straight line is all that you can use to express the circle or the sphere. Yeah. You can't measure curvature. It cannot be done. It is pretty simple when you bring it down to it, the basics.
So there's this thing, projecting a sphere to a plane. This is the picture that's included in the article on Wikipedia for spherical geometry, which I think is kind of interesting. because obviously has relevance to what we talk about. And then there's this guy was obsessed with this stuff.
That's his third eye.
Yeah, in this picture.
Yeah.
Yep. And he looks like they're laying out the same type of shape. And if you read this book, he does talk about that. There's a specific term that he uses quite frequently. There's a name for it. I can't remember what it is.
You know, what's interesting to
Concept out of
me.
somebody else's head and laying it out on the thing. Can't be done.
Oh no,
Yeah,
this picture is wacko. Yeah.
You know, what's interesting to me is it looks like the scalpel is lined up with that cherub's third eye as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Why is he holding it up so high like that? He's like getting a line of sight down the knife. I never noticed that one.
Right. Yeah.
They sure are muscular. These guys must work out. Hit the gym quite a bit. The little cherub gym. But yeah, so he's got a giant. He kills him. For those of you who've never seen this before, I killed him. I guess they just got his head. I don't know how he died. And they took out his third eye. You can see this one's just poking in the hole. This one's giving him a dirty look. He's like, dude, really? Are you poking in that hole? You should be paying attention over here. And then these guys this dude is really intent on doing something where he's pinning down the flaps that he's cutting off of the eye. This guy's pretty interested. He's chewing some bubble gum there. This guy's sitting on this guy's shoulder and looking at him going, see, I told you they'd show us some cool shit. That's my interpretation of it.
I like that. That's good. You got to draw some captions.
Well, I guess that just about sums up our modern day situation. Oh man,
yeah,
that's pretty dark.
Have you seen these before, Gio? These pictures? Or engravings, I guess. Pictures of engravings. They're from
That's not meant to be spherical geometry, is it?
This right here. Oh, this
Yeah.
guy. Yeah. What the hell is his name? I got it in here somewhere because I have a terrible memory. Rubens. No, that's the guy who made the pictures for Francois d'Aiguillon. I'll look him up.
How does that meant to relate to triangles with more than I don't.
Well,
That's got
it
to
just
be them
relates to
just
this.
looking at pictures with spheres in the past and trying to relate that into some sort of a concept that it could possibly have been real, right?
Oh, I don't know what
geometry is a new
exactly they were.
thing.
I don't know what exactly they were trying to do because I tried to find an English translation of this book, and I couldn't
Angels.
find it.
Angels, angles. One of them's holding a compass.
Yep. Oh yeah, this one's crazy too.
Yeah, we talked about this one last year sometime, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I've brought this up a couple times. This is pretty dang cool. It's blocked by this. You can see what he's doing here. Measuring the shadow cast by the false light that's blotting out the sun. Pretty weird shit. Here it is. This is the book that these are from. It's called Opticorum Libri Sex, Philosophis Iuxta ec Mathematica Vitalis. I don't know what the hell that means, even though I took Latin for 2 or 3 years. So let me see here. 6 books of optics. Okay, so he's talking about geometrical optics. Is a model of optics that describes light propagation in terms of rays. The ray in geometric optics is an abstraction useful for approximating the paths along which light propagates under certain circumstances. Might be in your wheelhouse there, Travis. Not that you buy into the light ray thing, but might be interesting. Stereographic projection. That's what it's called. This thing.
Well, I guess one thing I'll mention about spherical trigonometry in general is that I guess I'll just speak for myself and say that I don't have any conflicts in the conceptual component of that. Like if you have a sphere, let's say you're going to do some like make a sculpture and you wanted to make a sphere and then you wanted to for some reason put a triangle on it, you could do that, and the triangle is going to have angles larger than 180 degrees. Of course, it's not I wouldn't really call that a true triangle. It's like maybe a different word for it, spherical triangle, or it's more of it's something different because you're mapping three lines that are curved onto a ball.
Measure an angle then. That'd be a falsehood to call it an angle. Because if you again, spherical trigonometry is real thing, right? But what they do is they make a form on the inside of the triangle, of the sphere, and on the outside of the sphere. They then cast the straight lines from the center through both of those figures. And obviously the sphere cuts in between the two of them, and they take an average. That's how it's worked out. The triangles and if you work out the calculations, it's sine, cos, or tan. It's the actual triangles that you're working out, not with spherical sides. You're just making an average of those two base shapes on the inside of the sphere and on the outside of the sphere, incorporating that triangle. Like I think Brandon put a picture out the other day where it shows the triangle cast on the outside and on the inside of the thing, but it's to straight lines, and they always have 180 degrees. I mean, it is a base of mathematics. That very thing is the call it the fifth postulate, right? I call it the 12th axiom myself, but it's all about a triangle having 180 degrees. Some people like to call it the parallel postulate because they misinterpret a triangle having 180 degrees with parallel lines. Then they can say we don't have parallel lines and completely forget about the fact that it's actually about a triangle. And it may sound a bit complicated, but it's when you get down to the base of the geometry while they made a new geometry. Spherical trigonometry is real and has been known about for a long time. That is not spherical geometry. Spherical geometry is different. It's a concept.
You talking about this?
Well, that is just a projection, isn't it? Or through shadow casting with the optics. It's not actual geometry.
Right. Oh, you mentioned a picture I put out. I thought you were referring to this one.
No, I don't know if you change your picture. Not that one. You put one out the other day. It's like spherical geometry. There's a triangle cast through the circle into you've got a big triangle on the outside of it. An actual straight line triangle. Because you can't measure an angle to a curve. It's not possible. There's no tools that can do that. Because an angle is a division of a circle into 360, and those divisions are radius lines. They're straight lines. There's no curve. You can't measure an angle to a curve.
So is there a when they say a spherical triangle has more degrees than 180, is there, like, if you have any triangle is going to have 180 degrees, you can't have less, you can't have more. Okay. Yeah. So in a spherical triangle, is there a set number as well? Like you have to have, I'm just going to say 276 degrees, you can't have less, you can't have more. or is it willy-nilly depending on the size of the arches that you create?
Well, I don't know. How much have you looked into it?
I'm just doing it right
'Cause
now.
I've-
I mean, I
I've
normally
been-
am driving a truck.
I've been talked to a couple of people, and PhD Tony was the first person to tell us that the largest triangle you can have on a sphere is 540 degrees, which is fantastic, right? Well,
Yeah, I was trying to
he
wrap my head
said-
around that, how you would do that.
Yeah, right. Well, I can show you, but we have to go what he said first. He did the very brilliant mathematical idea of where you just divide it by 3. So then you have 3 angles of 180 degrees, which is fantastic, isn't it? Because 180 degrees is a straight line. You have 3 of those and put them together. I mean, it doesn't really make a triangle, does it?
Do you
What
have
the
him
hell?
saying that? Are
Yeah,
the
yeah.
words that he said that?
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, Brenda said it on here the other day, didn't she?
How?
Well,
Brenda
she was
said it exactly
misspeaking.
the
She
same
meant
thing.
to say she meant to say
Yeah, but-
270, but yeah, she did say
PhD
540.
Tony has actually said that. Right? It's just as ridiculous as what they say, right? But I mean, how good are you imagining a sphere? Because here we go. You get a sphere, and you mark a point. I'll actually fix it on an axis somewhere. So put the top point, grab that, and then come down to the midpoint, the what you call the equator, the largest expanse. So that's one line. That's your first line of your triangle in spherical geometry. Sorry. Then that line goes all the way around the circumference of the diameter. The circumference of the sphere, right back to the same point again. So that's your
I just
first
posted a GIF
angle.
for that. I just posted a GIF that shows, I think, what you're referring to.
Right. So that's one. The first angle is that one there, and then it goes round, and then it goes straight back up again. So you've got 2 90s, supposedly, because that's what they like to say, and then a 360 at the top. So actually, the triangle is the entire top half of the sphere. That's what they call a triangle. Now, if you can take that on and believe that sort of stuff, well, I mean, that's on you, right? That you're just believing people, and they're saying stupid shit. It can't be done. That's not a triangle. It's a half a sphere. It's ridiculous.
I agree. I've had a
Like,
couple of people try to tell me that you can measure a arc with a theodolite lately.
Well,
And I haven't been able to get a good answer on how you would do that unless you knew where the arc was already and just did it step by step and step by step. Still don't think you end up with an arc, but that'd be as close as you could do it. Or you just make a line and then a circle around it and say there I made an arc. It's my diameter.
You just change an angle, any sort of angle, into a radian value, don't you?
Yep.
But it's the same sort of thing. But like I'm with you, right? If you say you're measuring an arc, you want to know the length of that arc. And in order for you to be able to do that, if you're talking about a radian value, you have to have the radius length in
Very
order
true.
to make that into a distance around the arc. Otherwise, you're just measuring an angle and changing it to a radian value. Until you have that actual radius length, it's useless as a radian value.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. I like the simplicity of geometry and this line of thinking. Because you've said it before, but it's kind of a logic that's built on top of each other, right? Each step is a proof, and they build on top of each other, and you don't break these. It kind of gives you a way to think about things more than just a way to learn things in a rote manner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're talking about it in reality, you should be able to express it and tell people what you're talking about. Now, you can do that geometrically quite easily, you know, like explain the concepts of how it works and all of that. This is a triangle. It's not a triangle, but it, you know, we can concept and think of it as though it's a triangle, and we can pretend we're calculating angles that are more than 180 degrees. But if you don't tell people, you know, there is a firm understanding in mathematics, there's a proof that triangles only have 180 degrees. And that's because they have 3 straight sides, because 2 straight sides are needed for you to form an angle. If you don't have those 2 straight sides, you can't form an angle. And then you can't make 3 of those angles and put them together to make a triangle.
No, I do see what you mean with that, because even if you took one of these like triangle, spherical triangle things that's on a sphere, if you were to measure it right down where the 2 lines are meeting versus, you know, as it would expand, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to explain this well, but if you would measure that like right where the lines meet, you would get a particular quote unquote angle. But then if you went further into the triangle and you measured, you know, further up the lines, you're going to get a different angle, and then further up the lines. So it's more of like an exponentially changing quote unquote angle, instead of what you're saying is a real true angle is a set, you know, 2 straight lines that actually have a set angle. Whereas what these are kind of exponentially adjusting, you know, degrees, basically, in terms of as you move inward towards the circle or down towards where the lines meet, you're going to get these, you know, of varying different, you know, degrees of measurement.
Yeah, if you go beyond the size of the curve, then where's the angle? Like it
Right.
disappears. A normal angle doesn't matter where you measure it. The angle stays the same no matter where along the arms you measure that angle. I mean, it is the basis of all of the trigonometry and everything, right? Trigonometry doesn't work if you don't have triangles with 180 degrees. It's that base to everything that we do. The triangle is that is the shape. It's the only shape that you can use in order to predict a measurement of either an angle or a side. You know, like once you get into it, none of the shape does that.
But then how this links to the shape of the earth, I mean, if we had, like I said, if you were building a sculpture and you had a sphere, you could draw things on it, you could do what you wanted. And then if you had a flat surface that you were building on, you could, you know, make triangles and you could do that. But when it comes to the shape of the earth, I mean, if the earth was a globe, then conceivably you could measure these sort of spherical triangles and so on. Whereas if it's a level stationary type of a surface, a plane, then of course that wouldn't happen. You're always just going to have triangles, you know, as you go up in elevation, you're just going to have 3 points on the earth create a plane, 3 points 6 feet above the earth create a plane, 30 feet above the earth, etc. So in terms of like how this is linked to the shape of the earth, it does seem like this, you know, drawing straight lines and measuring the angles is a way to decipher whether it is a sphere or whether it's, you know, a plane.
It's how they've mapped it's geometry. That's what geometry is. Earth measurement, literally. I mean, that's why it came around. It's not, they didn't make up geometry while they were doing the spare time, right? Geometry is the earth measurement. That's how they build things.
Yeah.
That's how they measure everything. Now, if Pythagoras doesn't work, because, well, you need a triangle, right? You need a right-angled triangle for Pythagoras. That triangle has 180 degrees. So if these ballers that we're talking to are right, then Pythagoras doesn't work. Like we were talking to, like my son was talking to Larry. It's like, if triangles get more angles as they get bigger, then what is the size of a triangle that does have 180 degrees?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I think maybe what you just said there is leading to what I was saying. Like that little animation I just put, it shows a triangle getting larger. But if you were to have a real triangle with 180 degrees, 3 points create a plane, and you were to put that on a sphere, in a local region you could have it. Like you could have a 5-inch triangle, of course, that would be fine. But as you expand that triangle
Let me tell you what it
globe,
does.
hold on, Brian. Hold
Hold on, Brian.
If you have a 3-point triangle, 3 points create a plane, and if you expand that triangle over a sphere, at some point the curve of the sphere is going to, start to
Only if you turn it sideways, bud. Look, you got to turn that triangle sideways, man. Well, you look at that triangle growing, okay? You can draw a triangle and just call it great circles going at 60, 60, and 60 degrees over the whole, almost half the globe. But you got to turn them sideways to get the 90 degrees. You got to turn that great circle that's circling in a straight line. You got to turn that motherfucker sideways to get the 90 and 90, 90.
What? Why would it matter which way you turn it, though? Is the
Watch it in slow
sphere's supposed
motion,
to be
man.
the same
Watch
all-
that triangle. Watch that triangle grow in slow motion.
A 90-90 triangle that doesn't exist on the thing is those angles are internal angles. It's just an eighth of a sphere. That's all it is.
Right.
And those angles are the angles on the internal planes that are made by the cuts of that into it.
Well, what I'm saying is you take I drew mine a little bit smaller on the video I just did, okay? I drew a triangle on the sphere. I just covered the tropics to show anybody that you'd never measure 90, 90, 90, anything practical. But at first I went further. And it's the same thing, man. And it's just a great look. Okay, if you can have a straight line on a sphere and call it a great circle, just straight like a loop, just going straight around, let's say longitude, let's just say the prime meridian, okay? And I just showed if you branch
Why are we
off,
letting Brian say
wait,
that
hold on.
Brian, come on, man.
Right, yeah,
What?
I've got a picture for you.
You
I've
can't
just
What
drawn-
I'm saying is if you branch off if you branch off at any latitude, it's just going to go circle around the globe. If you branch off at any latitude from the prime meridian at 90 degrees, you're going to do a
There you
circle
go.
around a
Just
sphere.
a picture.
It's not going to meet what I'm saying.
Yeah. Here, this is what WS was saying in your comment section too. This thing here.
I've
Brendan,
took a
your
picture
screen
and
is
chucked
still
it in
showing.
there.
Your screen is
They
still showing.
want curved straight lines.
Oh, am I sharing the wrong window or something?
Yeah, it's still showing the
Can you see it now?
angels and the dude with the. Yeah,
Do you see
now
that?
it's showing the volleyball sliced open, whatever that is.
Yeah, that's mine.
Yeah.
It's a ball with just what you call 90 degrees, but those 90 degrees are on the internal planes.
Right.
It's just an eighth. If you imagine a cake, that's just the top quarter section cut out of it. The angles
Do you see
aren't on the outside to the curve lines.
Right.
The angles, like it shows there, with the 90-degree square.
Anyway, what I was saying
They're
is
on
just
the
grab a
inside.
globe. Grab a globe and go to the prime meridian. Start like at 10
Don't
degrees
grab
south.
a
It's
globe.
not a globe. No, it's a
I know
sphere,
that.
Brian.
Wait, what? Why are
Yeah,
y'all
so
arguing
don't
with
Give
me
them
even
and let
talk
me
about the
talk?
globe. This is just geometry. It's not on
Yeah,
the
grab a
surface
basketball.
of the sphere.
Okay. Sorry. Grab a basketball. Okay. What I was saying is if you just make a straight line like a prime meridian and you go 90 degrees from there, you just circle back around to where you started. It doesn't triangle.
It's
Was
not
my
a straight
point.
line.
Yeah.
It's a fucking latitude line. What do you mean
Yeah.
it ain't straight?
Yeah, It's
You're
not
talking-
straight.
You're walking
It's
round the
curved,
ball, are you,
Brian.
Brian?
You're missing the point.
You're missing the point. My point is the longitude lines converge. The latitude lines do not. So if you take
But
one of the
none of them are
longitude lines
straight.
as your straight line and you
Yeah,
draw
no,
90 degrees,
Brian.
it will never fucking
No,
converge.
Brian. They are not straight lines on a globe. Don't kid yourself.
No, they're not straight lines. I'm talking about their intersecting line. It's just one big fucking line and does a circle. It never connects with the other 90. Is my point. So yeah, I'm agreeing with you that the geometry does not fucking work the way they say. The trig, yeah, you need fucking 180 degrees. I agree with all that.
You
I'm
need
not arguing
straight
with y'all.
lines, Brian, for an angle.
Yeah, I mean straight like straight as in not
You mean a
connected,
chord line?
right?
A chord line is not
I
a
mean-
straight line.
I mean straight like in
No, what I
actually
mean,
straight,
yeah,
Brian. That's
I'm
what
fucking
I
up
do.
by calling
Anyway.
it a straight line. I am fucking it up calling it a straight line. By definition, it's not a straight line.
Well,
But I
don't
meant
call
what
it
I
a
meant by
straight line,
straight is
then.
like not intersecting, right?
Great circle. That's what you mean, Brian.
Right. Right. So that's how when they do a great circle, they turn it sideways. Your triangle is in essence turning sideways when it starts to loop out. I can do that on a basketball or on a globe and all that. But yeah, that throws off the trig, man. It throws off all the fucking calculation. It would throw off a sextant. It would throw off all that.
It's a tetrahedron with a curved surface. It's not a triangle. That's why they keep thinking it'd be like a tetrahedron with
It's
four
the surface
sides.
of the sphere. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is
The
such a
surface
thing
of constant
as
curvature.
It's not.
Yeah.
Undevelopable surface.
It's not.
It's a calculated area for the surface of a sphere. Yeah, it's a calculated area space. It's not a true triangle. I would agree. But I mean, if you took one of like a triangle ruler, like the one that Bev has on the inside of that little ball there, if you took one of those, it's if that's large enough, depending on the size of the sphere. Obviously, if it was tiny, you could put on a sphere because it'd just be locally a triangle. But if you put one of those, it doesn't fit on a sphere at the end of the day. So that's the bottom line. A real triangle will never fit on a sphere. So that's why these measurements are, I think, important for
I agree with that.
the future.
I agree with that because it's not a real triangle. It's an overarching triangle. It's not a real triangle. It's not a measurable. Like I don't see how how they think they could do trigonometry with arcing triangles without. Yeah, you need to know a radius. It's pointless. It's a guess. It's a fucking guessing game. That's the game
Well,
they
I
play.
just don't think that they're tying it from this theoretical and spherical, spherical math that they're using to what they're doing on the face of the Earth.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I have
the
no
thing,
doubt
like,
that they've
who's
figured
doing
out
it?
how to, do shit on the surface of a basketball. That spherical geometry is a thing. That's not even a question.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the old
Yeah.
adage of the old adage of 3 points create a plane. If those 3 points are far enough, distanced, then you're not going to be able to create a plane on a sphere. So that's why I think this is a very interesting topic. And I think in the future of where this is all headed, I know that there's mainstream sources that claim that they're measuring, these spherical triangles, but that's a whole other topic of the ones that have been claimed.
Well,
That's the
that's
point,
when you
right?
get into this thing. This is a
reality-
triangle.
Well,
Did he say spherical triangle? Did I hear correctly?
yeah. In reality, we
No,
do
what I
measure
meant to say
triangles,
was,
right?
what I meant to say is not more than 180 degrees. So I kind of put a little emphasis on that. What I meant was, is you could draw a prime meridian and take a 90-degree turn, and that they'd never fucking meet. That was the main point of the video. Is that if you take a 90-degree angle off the prime meridian or off a basketball, the line will just circle around. No, it's not a triangle, but it's not no 90 shit. That's when you turn the great circles on their side. But you might not like this, but this is the problem I was running into when I was setting up string lines and we were trying to like come up with a way to prove the Earth being spherical or globe, and it was harder than you think because the math lines up if you're using spherical trig as far as the water curving. In other words, you'd have to have a continual. A long story short, you'd have to have a continual concrete wall
No.
to measure it for sure. No. If you're gonna, yeah, I mean, it goes further than that. Like if you're gonna
Now,
say,
can I just
I'm shooting my way
before you
around a
carry on
globe
there,
or some
Brian,
shit.
I'm going to be out of here in a minute because this is
Yeah, go ahead.
turning into
Go
strange
ahead.
lands.
Yeah, point being is that the math worked out the same fucking.
In reality,
straight it wasn't either.
in reality, we do triangulation, and we have maps, 2D maps, call them flat maps. They're all to
Agreed.
scale, And on those maps, we do triangulation. We've mapped those maps because they have triangulated the land already. Now, those triangles that they mapped the land with had 180 degrees. That's how they could put them on a scale map. Right? So in reality, triangles have 180 degrees. It's provable mathematically, and we transpose those onto maps. Those maps are to scale, all the way across them, the same scale. That's the only argument that needs to be talked about. Now, you can talk about what happens on balls. You can draw lines on balls. You can imagine walking round the side of a globe and drawing triangles and getting in planes and doing all that. But that's just imagining stuff. It's already been mapped with triangles.
Yeah, that's well put, Bev. That's well put, because when I was battling with all that shit, it was just like, what the fuck am I even doing? This is stupid, man. Yeah, well put, Bev. I'm with you.
So just to bring it back to this subject before we lose it, I do think that there is probably something to be learned in this stereographic projection and looking at stuff like this in regards to how what the actual map of the Earth looks like, and maybe some hints about how they transform from the two geometries.
It's an undevelopable surface, though, Brandon. The surface of the sphere is an undevelopable surface, which means it cannot be expressed on a two-dimensional plane without distortion.
Well, it can, but it's distorted, right?
Yeah.
But I understand.
But maps that we use aren't distorted; they are to scale.
No, they're not. They're distorted.
They're not. That's why you have things like curved lines of longitude and latitude on these maps, depending on the maps.
If you go to the Ordnance Survey thing, they tell you that they are distorted and they are derived from a spherical Earth.
That's nice. So anyway, I think in here, in this cartography and this whole thing, because they seem to have been obsessed with it back in the past, this stereographic map projection, and all those weird pictures came out of it. There's definitely some, at least what they considered occult knowledge in the past, buried within this stuff. So I just have a feeling that there is something here to be learned.
There's nothing occult about, for example, if you look on a flat map drawn on a piece of paper on an aeronautical.
All maps are flat, pal.
Hold up.
They have arrived to disturb the conversation, guys.
Yep. Yeah, it was going too good.
Can you stop interrupting me on an aeronautical?
Yeah, you just interrupted Brandon.
Yeah, dude.
You just interrupted Brandon, so we're going to interrupt you.
Or an aeronautical map.
You interrupted Brandon like 3
I did
times
not
during his
interrupt.
last.
I did not interrupt Brandon.
Yeah, you
he's
did.
right in the middle of a presentation, dude.
Yeah, I couldn't wait for you to say don't interrupt, just to say you interrupted Brandon. Because guess what? You interrupted Brandon, and it didn't take long.
Look at the aeronautical map.
Same old script. We don't want to hear it. Blah, blah, blah. Quit interrupting.
Lakia, what are you afraid of?
Dude, Brandon's presenting something on screen.
Well, I guess I was pretty much done with what I was saying, but does anybody have any thoughts on that? That there might be some something to be learned by looking into this stuff. Stereographic map projections, and particularly this guy's work. If we could get an English translation, that'd be really cool. Just one thing I haven't gotten around to, but if anybody's interested in this subject and they study it, I'd love to hear what you learn. This dude, Aguillon, or what was his name again? Yeah, Francois d'Aguillon, who had a pretty damn cool illustrator. Go ahead.
Of all people, Ruppert should know that just having the globe and checking measurements on it does not prove a fucking globe. That's like, he's got to know that a globe is AE map wrapped on a ball. He's got to know that.
The AE map doesn't work at all, does it? The distance between Australia and, say, South America does not what we see in reality. We know. Can I just finish a sentence? We know the AE map does not work. We know that all the distances on it, except the lines along the line of latitude.
No, you don't know that.
It does not work.
Rumpus,
not?
they use the AE map for fucking navigation, dude. Are you
No, they
kidding
don't.
me?
No, they don't
Yes,
use it
they
for
do,
navigation.
man.
No, they don't use it for
If
navigation.
you try and take a globe out to sea,
Hey
you're gonna
guys,
fucking wreck. or
can
get
I just
lost,
stop
boys.
it before this ball gets rolling here? Can we not turn this into a shit show? Let's just have a fucking conversation. You
AE maps
guys
are
got
not
plenty
used
of
for
time to
navigation.
speak. Just make your point and then let the other person speak.
That's a pretty big ask. Not
AE
doing
I
maps
know.
are not used for navigation.
I'm gonna start making it more and more too.
Yeah, I would just like to make mention. I would just like to make mention. If flat maps were of a flat Earth, there would be no distortion in the maps.
Good
How
If-
can you
if-
not have distortion, bro? How can you not
Wait,
have
say that
distortion
again.
when you have
Left lane.
Well, what is a flat map then? If it's not
you
flat,
have lines of longitude extruding as they go out further and further? You have to fucking distort it, bro. Because otherwise, how could you make the spaces in between the longitudes the same?
We have
You
grid
have to distort it,
coordinates
bro.
in the UK. We just have square grids.
Unless you do a grid, yeah. Unless you do a grid.
That's all we have in the UK.
Yeah, and if you go to the Ordnance Survey, apparently you've actually been emailed or had a Twitter response from the Ordnance Survey in which they specifically told you that they get the flat maps from a projection from a sphere. You apparently told this.
Yeah,
in a
somebody in
Twitter
the
email.
somebody in the control room, right? So somebody
from the
wasn't one of the surveyors that told me that, was it, Rumpus?
Of course not. It's the becoming someone who does the mapping.
So that wasn't the people I was asking to talk to. It was just an automated response, wasn't it?
You were
Rumpus?
told by the
It was
Ordnance
just
Survey
an
that
automated
the flat
response,
maps
wasn't
are a
it,
projection
Rumpus?
of a sphere.
Just
They
like
told
you, when
officially.
you just automate what you
They
say.
told you officially. Yes, that's because it's correct. And they officially
Why are
told you
you
that
telling me what I was told by somebody else?
because
an
you
automated response.
are not. You seem to be thinking when you just made the claim just now that we
Yep.
have square maps in the or square grid maps in this country. You failed to also mention the Ordnance Survey. You had an interaction Ordnance Survey in which they explained to you how that occurs.
Okay, then
It's
can
a
you just be quiet
projection
for a moment,
from
then,
a sphere.
Rumpus, and I will tell you what they told me in that chain of tweets.
Peter Clark, $2. Good show, Brandon. And I hope Jose is okay. Shout out, Peter Clark. Thank you very much, sir.
Scale. Those maps are accurate to over 100 meters plus or minus 1.9 meters.
Yes,
That's what
there
they
you go.
tried to tell us. Well,
Right.
that's wrong, Rumpus. It's not correct. Because
know?
the maps of 1 to 50,000 are accurate. So you can't be that far off 1.9% over a 1 to 1,250 scale maps. It's not
But if theyve told you
possible.
that,
That's why it's an
it is possible.
automated response, Rumpus.
If they told you that officially
Yes.
from someone in a position of responsibility,
No,
then that is
an
correct.
automated response.
Yes,
Rumpus.
automated. Yes, exactly. Giving you the correct the information. Why? So what if it's automated? Who cares? It's the official response, and if
Yeah,
they say that's
which
the case,
doesn't
then that's the case.
work.
Do we
You
have
know
any
nothing
experimental
about it.
evidence that says that's the
Rumpus.
case, or has anybody gone out there and verified any of the
Yes,
measurements?
Of course they have.
That's why
These
the
are
question
people.
was about
This is
the
the
difference
oldest
between
mapping
measuring and
institution
calculating.
in the world. The greatest has the greatest mapping institution ever in the entire world,
That
giving
is
you this
now
information.
Not owned. It's a private company. It's not the Ordnance Survey,
It might
is
have been
it?
privatised about a couple of decades ago, but it
Yeah,
doesn't
so
change.
the person
it
that
does not
told
change
me
anything
that
about it.
came from a automated response.
Doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Who
Yeah,
cares?
I'm surprised they didn't try and tell me about boats going over the horizon at the same
Well,
time.
you didn't ask that question, did you? If you'd asked that, they
Well,
might have told you.
They would.
If you'd asked two boats
That's where they would have gone.
disappear from the bottom.
Rumpus.
I mean, they're not. No,
So
that's not
can
part
you
of their
can
brief.
you definitely say then for now that they definitely measure triangles with more than 180 degrees, Rumpus?
Yes.
Well, we know that. We know if you do,
yes,
you
who
get
said that?
spherical
Who was that
excess.
that said yes then?
We get spherical excess. We know that. I mean, Jesse has measured this as far
How
as
do
I
you know
remember.
that?
Jesse's
no.
measured
If you assume
triangles with
it's
more
wrong.
than 180 degrees.
I think Jesse's measured spherical excess. I think certainly
Wow.
has been.
You
You
think?
can't
Or
measure
you
it without a radius, Rumpus.
Say again?
Rumpus, you think Bob and Blue save people by being Air Force pilots? So
No,
that's not true either.
I'm keen
I
on
didn't
this,
hear that. Sorry,
Rumpus.
you can
Are
say
you,
that again,
are
Racket.
you naming somebody that I can go and verify that they have actually done this? Measured
not
a
sure.
triangle with more than 180 degrees.
I thought that one of those three, the main surveyor or Jesse or Larry, had actually done some measurements that gave a spherical excess personally.
Not
they
Larry.
certainly know that.
Larry did a really bad example. Larry, I would say that Larry isn't a surveyor. Right?
Yes, but
at this moment, after having actually talked to Larry.
You have not got a surveying book. You don't understand surveying. You think horizontal is level. You're not qualified to have an opinion. That is a guy who's installed. That is a professional surveyor who has been around the world being paid enormous amounts of money to do jobs that are absolutely crucial that they work. And you're just someone who doesn't even get a surveying pronouncing upon them. Just ridiculous.
He got paid to measure spherical excess. I'll take that.
No, I didn't say that at all.
So why did
he is paid to be a geodetic surveyor?
Who's done it, Rumpus?
Been round the world in a paid.
Give us a name of somebody who's measured a triangle in reality with the tools, a theodolite, I presume, of more than 180 degrees, please.
I can't give you that off the top of my head, but I'll tell you tomorrow if I can find that information.
I can give you a proof that triangles only have 180 degrees right now.
Not on a spherical surface, you can't. On a basketball, they wouldn't, would they?
No, in reality, I can give you a proof that triangles only have 180 degrees. I'm not claiming anything different.
No, you can't do that.
That's you. You're claiming the difference.
Because you're not going to have done anything over sufficient distance in which that behaviour would be exhibited.
Yeah, a 3, 4, 5 triangle would definitely work wherever you want to do it. It's a Pythagoras.
You do understand that you have to go over a long distance to see the excess, don't you? You have to make observations over hundreds of miles. You understand that, don't you?
So you make a triangle bigger and it gets more angles.
I couldn't hear any of that. You both.
You make a triangle bigger, is what you're saying. You make a triangle bigger and it gains angles, Rumpus. Is that what you're saying?
Draw a triangle,
no,
a basketball.
Rumpus, no.
What do you think the interior angles will sum to?
Answer the question, Rumpus.
A triangle in reality, not on a fucking ball. A triangle in reality.
A triangle
if you measure
in
it,
reality,
if it gets bigger,
drawn on a basketball, will have an interior will have spherical excess. In reality.
So what is the size of a triangle that only has 180 degrees, Rumpus?
Well, on a flat plane, obviously you can have any size, but on a basketball, I'd have to.
Like in reality,
you don't care about a basketball.
Do you want to see a 1% excess? I mean, how big do you want the excess to be measurable?
I'll say it again, Rumpus. Just
you
make
have to assume a globe, bud. To get
in
your excess,
reality, Rumpus.
In reality, on a basketball,
Brian.
triangles
Let Bev go
have
back and forth.
excess.
No.
On a basketball, triangles have more than 180 degrees
Why is it
interior
worth
angle.
talking to people like
Jesus
this?
Christ. Do you not accept that? Do you accept that? That on a basketball, if I draw a triangle...
we don't care about a basketball. Shut the fuck up about a basketball.
That's it. That's part of reality. Basketballs are real. Spheres are real. If I draw a triangle on a spherical surface, you will get a spherical excess. You can't deny that.
We're talking about the
Start
Earth,
at the prime
Rumpus.
meridian and take
You're
a 90
changing the
degree
subject
turn
to a
at 10
basketball.
degree latitude. And see if you get a triangle.
You do accept, Brandon, that you will get spherical excess on a basketball if you draw a triangle on a basketball, don't you?
No, it
If
depends
you
on how you
use
do it,
Spherical's
Rumpus.
geometry and
Well,
draw
hold on, Brian. Can I just do with Brandon?
Can I give a real life?
I can't
a three-sided shape on a basketball and connect 3 great circles, then yeah, you will get a something with a sphere, what you call a spherical triangle with more than 180 degrees. I don't give a shit about a basketball or a sphere. I want to see it done in reality. Now you just said that it takes hundreds of miles in order to do it. And as far as I know, there has not been a single measurement that's been hundreds of miles long.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a document. I think Jesse or Larry gave it to me, which showed this. I can't remember where it was now.
It's assuming a radius, for the God's sakes, man.
No, it's not.
Their documents
We've measured the radius.
on a ball.
Stop it.
Yeah, but hold on.
Please.
We've measured the radius, so we know the radius is there. We know the Earth's a sphere.
The UK has been mapped.
You have not measured the radius.
Triangulated.
Of course we have. Of course we have.
From mountain top to mountain top. The triangulation points are still there to this day.
You're a moron.
What are you talking about? I didn't hear the start of your sentence, Bev.
I said,
you're talking about the surveying of the UK in the 1920s
in the UK,
and 30s.
in the UK, we have triangulated the entire.
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Yes, and everybody knows.
So
Everyone in their dog knows that, Bev. Why do you think you're telling me something everybody in this panel doesn't know? You'll be telling me 1 + 1 is equal to 2 next. Why do you specialise in spouting the truisms that are so obvious, and you think you're making a point? You're not.
So the triangles that they triangulated the UK with, how many angles did they have in them?
Well, they would have had a small excess, no doubt. If some of those things are measured 30, 40 miles. Some of those triangulation points are 30 miles apart or so.
180, Rumpus?
No, well, they would have had more if they'd been
more than 180 degrees, right? So
if they did, if you did a measurement,
is the triangle in reality that only has 180 degrees?
I missed the start of that sentence again. I'm sorry.
I said, what size of triangle in reality only has 180 degrees? How big is that triangle?
Well, in theory, there'd always been excess, but whether you can measure it or not, that's the key thing. And you can only, for instance, it's only becomes, say, measurable with a theodolite, I think, when it gets to about 15, 20 miles, I think, or 25, 30 miles, I think you have to have your triangle.
If it's line of sight, it's 180 degrees, pal.
So again, Brian, sorry, I'd missed that.
Yeah, he's right.
So if it's line of sight, it's 180 degrees. By fucking just rules of reality, dumbass.
No, you can have lines of sight with the 30-odd miles, even in this country.
If you have line of sight, it's 180 degrees, Rumpus, period.
Does my vision have...
When you say line of sight, do you mean the human eye? But you can use tools to see further, Brian.
You can see somebody's... describe this to me, then. How are they doing this? 15 to 20 mile measurement that you're describing. Tell me about it.
Wait, for instance, when they did...
Do these tools wrap my vision around a circle?
Oh my God. For instance, doing Everest, for instance, they did that from a distance of about 40 to 50 miles, I think, to measure the top of Everest. So if they were doing triangles that involved that and the Everest surveying of India, then they would have had I've seen the map I've seen the surveying map of that, and the one to Everest, there were several alongside it. So no doubt that would have been exhibiting spherical excess.
No doubt. You don't know what you're talking about.
You only need about 30 miles to get within something like 10 arc seconds after about 10, 20 miles. I think so. It becomes measurable after about that.
Well, they use globe maps to do mountains, okay? Mountains are not reliable, okay? Let's go out to any continental area without mountains, and anything you could see, you can't bend my vision to give it excess, bro. If I could see 40 miles and he could see 40 miles, and that's three angles equaling 180 degrees, bro.
Bend your vision. Well, refraction bends the vision, if that's what you mean. Are you talking about just using your eyes, or are you talking about using instruments as well?
Are you still talking about triangles with more than 180 degrees, Rumpus, with straight lines of sight between them?
There were surveying tasks, and the one I happen to know for a fact was the Everest one, where they were doing it something like 40 or more miles. It might even be 80. I can't remember which.
Rumpus.
And therefore, that is big enough to exhibit spherical excess.
What does horizontal mean?
Tangent to the surface of the Earth.
So, Rumpus, you have provided us nothing. You've said, I think they did this on Everest. You haven't described it.
No, I know they did. No, I know the distance on Everest.
Which is what I asked you to do. You keep going back to a basketball and saying, I think they did this. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
No, I know absolutely. You know nothing about what you're talking about, whereas I do, because I'm right all the time.
Roberts, quit.
And I
Go
know
into
that
the
they
mountains
used,
and let's go about
and I know that
waterways.
they used
Stuff
on
we know is
Everest
flat.
distance of at least 40 miles. And I happened to have done the calculation with George recently, and we've established that you would
Right.
see the spherical
They're
excess
math-
over more than
they're
about something like
global
20 miles.
calculations, bro.
You would get measurable spherical excess.
Yeah.
Of course you can calculate it. It's all about your assumptions. No one is denying that you can calculate things.
Well, it's been measured.
We're denying that you have actually measured
I
it.
don't happen to have. I can't give you a moment a link to where that's happened, but I've been seen documents that have shown this. But if you want me to, I'll go and, I would try and dig them out. I tell you what, I'll try and dig them out for
You
you,
can see
Brandon.
anything right now. We
I
can't
would
prove
try and
anything
dig them out for you,
otherwise.
Brandon, the next few days, or if not tomorrow, so that I can provide.
dig
you
them
with
out now and get them.
Well, I don't happen to know where they are just at this moment. I mean, it's amazing that I am the one providing. I have to provide you with qualified citations, and then you're not doing anything. You're just expressing your idiocy.
All right, we're good. Thanks, Rumpus. Thanks for your input. Thanks for your input. We got your theory. We got what you think happens. We got nothing about reality. So anyway, RC, you were saying something? You got cut off a few times.
Yeah, the point is that Bev was trying to say that a triangle always has 180 degrees, and I said when it's on a flat surface it does. When it's not, it has more than 180 degrees, Bev.
Yeah. Well, so then another pointless statement. Got it.
3 coplanar points, right? It's always a plane. Those 3 points describe the plane.
Not on a basketball, they don't.
Yeah,
we're talking about the Earth, man, not a basketball.
The 3 points.
And my point is, what we have actually measured are distances between all points on the face of the Earth, and because we know those distances, we know
Nobody's measuring big enough. Oh my God. Good.
No, let's just drop it. They have no evidence for this. They provided nothing. They told us about basketballs. They've made some reference to Mount Everest. They don't really know what they're talking about. They really haven't described it. And when we did get a description of it, it was this ridiculous image that Kosho brought up.
Brandon,
Brandon, can I
I've given you verifiable measurements of actual aeronautical paths taken by airplanes. And then,
we're not interested in that again. That went nowhere last time.
We do know.
That went nowhere. RC, if you're going to tell me about the LiDAR radar thing, I'm not interested.
Brandon, we do know the distances between points on the face of the Earth. We do know that those points do not lay out on a flat plane.
Horizontal distances, right? Measured horizontally.
Dude, calculations or measurements?
Measurements.
Because Meisty, no, I want to ask Meisty. Meisty, do they calculate those distances or do they measure them?
Show us the LiDAR math then, Meisty.
Show
Show us the LiDAR math and we'll walk you through it, bud. We'll walk you through it, Meisty. Pull up the LiDAR, pull up the math, we'll walk you through it.
In the mapping of the UK, when they mapped the UK, they measured horizontal distances from point A to point B. They then transposed those onto the maps and did the triangulation.
And how did they find those horizontals?
They looked at
measuring them. First order measurements, chains.
How did they find them? They used the force acting on a plumb bob.
No, they used chains to measure horizontal distances.
Cool beans. And how did they make sure the chains were horizontal?
They made them horizontal. They used a level.
Okay. And the level was made with water?
I don't know. I wasn't there back in the day. I would presume that before they had a theodolite or an auto level, an optical device, then yeah, they used water levels. Yeah.
Okay. Water or plumb bob, both of which are subject to the forces acting on them.
Perpendicular.
Good job. So you define your level
straight lines
on forces acting on objects.
No, they're not straight lines.
Yeah,
They're
vertical
level.
and horizontal.
When does gravity become a force?
Yeah,
when
only
did
at one
gravity
point.
become a force?
Bev, I'm interested whether you ignore what we tell you or whether you are incapable of understanding what we're telling you or you're just lying to me. I want to know that you understand in the globe model that every point on the surface of the Earth has a different horizontal. Do you understand that's our model?
No, I only deal in reality, Rumpus.
Yeah, but do you understand that's our model?
You can have any model you want.
Right, so
yes,
you do it. So whenever you make that statement, because
how
your favourite
ridiculous
statement
your
to make
model is.
horizontal is 90 degrees to vertical, and we all agree on that. But
Yes.
the difference between us,
That
when you
happens in
keep on
reality
saying,
too
so you
as well.
keep on stating that thing that we all agree on, as though you're somehow making a point that we're disagreeing with. Hold on, Brian, let me make this point. Brian, I really would like to make this point to Bev. So every single time you make the statement as though you're saying something profound, like the vertical is 90 degrees to horizontal, you all know this, you moron. The point of contention, you utter moron, is whether or not that changes with a change of position. And you seem to not understand. I mean, this is a guy who seems thinking the vertical involves going up the monitor.
It's all right. I'm working
he
it
never
out for myself.
understands. I mean, I really wonder whether you understand what the globe model is. And every single point has a different horizontal. Do you understand
I'll
that?
sort it out for myself, Rumpus. You're all right.
Do you understand that in our
He's
model,
good. He said he'll sort it out for himself. He deals in reality. You got your answer.
No, he
we're
doesn't.
moving on. Yeah, we're moving on.
Yeah, I wanted to say something to Rumpus, man.
What's that,
Rumpus,
Shaky?
pull up all these surveys, pull it on up, and we'll go through it with you and show you how it's all assumed to be on a globe, dude. Look, you can make a model out of it, flat or globe.
To be on a globe.
Not
He said he'd
either
bring
way.
it back in a few days. Let's just let him go do his research.
I missed your point, Brian. What do you can prove to me what?
You need to be honest. Look, man, my point is
horizontal lines
pull
are
up all your shit. When you bring it, we'll go over it with you and show you that for the measurements you're talking about are an assumed radius, assumed on a globe. It's not proving the globe. Our whole point is it's not proving the globe.
I can't hear Brian. We're talking and interrupting.
D-Mock, hold on, man. D-Mock.
Right, so you're.
Hold on.
Oh, jeez. So, Brian, when I come back with the spherical access document.
Hold on. Okay, yep. We'll see when you bring the stuff back. D-Mock, go ahead.
So, Brian's referring to the spherical access measurement. Is that what he's talking about?
Yeah.
The spherical measurements are calculated on a globe, assuming a globe, bro. If you bring the measurements, we'll go over them with you, Rumpus, and you'll see. You're being dishonest. You just don't know it. It's all assumed on a globe.
Brian, you can't be dishonest.
We'll see when he brings them back. We don't want it. I don't want to hear about it anymore. I don't want to hear about it anymore until we have something actual to look at.
Okay, but he doesn't understand what
Go
dishonest
ahead,
means.
D-Mock.
When you're dishonest, that means you're saying something you know.
Rumpus, you just got done calling Bev an idiot and a liar many times.
I did. No, I didn't call him a liar. I never called Bev a liar. When did I call him a liar?
Did you not say dishonest?
Can I ask Bev a question?
I never said he was dishonest. I never said he was a liar or dishonest. For God's sake, listen to what I'm saying.
Can I ask
thanks,
Bev a
Rumpus.
question?
Thanks for coming by.
Thanks, Rumpus.
Actually,
Bev,
D-Mock, what's next? D-Mock, go ahead if you had something to say. No? All right, I see. It's up to it's you.
Okay, Bev. Can you show me, because no flat earther has been able to show me yet,
Not
the
a flat
distances that
earther.
I posted. Okay, your level earther, horizontal earther. So, Bev,
Just
can you
level
tell
is
me-
horizontal, I'll do.
Okay, cool. So, Bev, can you fit the distances that I posted in the chat onto a flat surface for me and have them remain connected together?
I don't really. What
You
do
say
you
my
mean,
name?
distances? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I just posted them in the chat. Can you? Because no,
What distances are they?
These distances laid out on a flat surface.
What are the distances?
On a
You
flat
think
Earth,
you
the
can
radius
measure shit on a flat floor?
Meisty, on a flat Earth, the radius is about 6,000 miles, man.
What?
I mean, on
What
a circle
distances
flat
are
Earth.
these that you're giving us? I don't know.
These are distances flown by commercial aircraft.
How did you measure them?
Well, no, don't talk Bev. Bev.
What
Bev,
device
don't
did they
get into
use
this.
to
We
make
already
those
went into
measurements?
this. He doesn't even know what the fuck he's talking about. He changed the
I know,
story.
that's what I'm pointing
Unless
out.
you got your shit together, RC. I don't want to hear about these fucking numbers again in this table.
Just lines.
Brandon, I never
Hey, Meisty, how'd you calibrate your water level?
Yeah, that's a good one. Have you found that yet? Have you found your water calibrating machine yet?
Bev, can you show me these? Bev, can you show me these distances laid out on a flat
Don't
surface?
care,
Have you found
RC.
the water calibration?
Take it elsewhere. Don't care.
System, right, RC.
Why are you afraid of them, Brandon?
Nobody's
Why are you
afraid
afraid
of
of
I'm not afraid of it. I'm afraid of fucking wasting my time and being bored to death by another fucking
Again.
circle jerk chasing my tail around
Yeah,
trying
how
to
about
figure
you
out what the
explain
fuck
how
you're
you
talking about.
calibrated your water level?
Have you heard about his? I think it was wasn't your dad or your granddad had the water level calibration machine for
Why are
calibrating
you
water
scared
levels.
that
Have you
these
heard about that,
distances can't
Brandon?
be laid out on a flat surface, Brandon? What do you think that implies?
When did I ever say that,
No,
RC?
Yeah, Brandon. Why are you scared
You're
of
an
these
idiot.
imaginary numbers, Brandon? Why do they strike
Yeah.
fear in your heart, Brandon? There's pretend numbers that are made up and don't actually mean anything. Why does it scare you so?
Oh, so you think that they're made up? Okay, cool. If they're made
Do you have
up,
any verifiable,
Where'd you get
repeatable
them
evidence
from?
for a globe, RC? Do you have anything that we can actually, sink our teeth in and look at besides a table of numbers whose origin we can't verify, don't know, don't get the straight story for?
you can verify them. Yeah.
No,
No,
not that.
some curving water there.
Maybe not. If you're too lazy to go out and verify,
Oh, there it is again. Afraid, lazy.
Yeah. All right,
Next, you're
RC.
gonna
Thank
say
you
we
for
don't
playing today as
understand.
well. Appreciate
Bye.
it.
Jesus.
I have
They
numbers.
never learn.
Earth is sphere. Fucking goof.
Anyway,
The we
They
don't understand is
They
coming
don't
next.
understand that all their measurements and all this shit are assuming a globe. They don't understand it, so I guess they're not lying. But if we show them, I can't wait for them to bring their math so we can point out how it's assuming a globe. I can't believe they don't understand that one simple thing. Look, yeah, it works because you're assuming a globe, assigning it a radius, and then trying to match the measurement to the fucking globe. It's like a
No,
slap
you've
in
got it.
our face.
Rumpus told you exactly how to do it. I mean, all the globers have been doing it for ages, right? Measuring triangles with more than 180 degrees. I mean, that's proof, right? It's got to be, because if they don't, that seems to be flat Earth, right? Triangles having 180 degrees is flat Earth. The same as level being horizontal. That's flat Earth. Straight lines, not curving, flat Earth. All the globers
love
they've
the
got
way
to do
Bev
is
works,
prove
man.
any of their stuff, any of it, and they will be fine.
It's like
Right, when they
what
come up
Bev
with
brings to my
triangles
brain
less
is
than
words
180.
so eloquently and mathematically, dude. It's simply
Brian, I have a
brilliant.
quick question. You said these measurements
Here
work
comes
when you
another
assume
one.
a sphere. I'm just wondering when you
Pull
assume
them
a.
up.
I'm not done yet. When you assume a flat Earth
Just
or a
pull
flat
them up.
plane,
Brandon don't want to keep going in circles. Pull them up, and we'll show you.
hold on. I'm just saying. You've said one thing. I'm asking the flip side of it. If you assume a flat surface or a flat plane, do these measurements work or no?
Is that when you
Yes,
say
they
assume
fucking
a
work.
flat, is that triangles with 180 degrees level being horizontal and straight lines not bending, and a two-dimensional plane being a flat surface? Is that
Right,
what
so
you
I
assume
asked a
as
very
flat
specific
Earth?
question. I don't expect to get an answer. I'm just wondering if there is an answer. If not,
I'll give
that's
you an
fine, I'll
answer.
move on.
Biodual. I can map my state as a sphere. Okay, as long as I don't let you anywhere near the outside of it. Okay, until you get toward that to prove it, But the bigger you get, the easier it would be to fool somebody. Look, I can map
Wouldn't it be a
anything as a
state
sphere. Any
plane?
flat surface, I can map it as a sphere mathematically. I mean, do you not understand that? Mathematically, I can
It's
map
a
it as a sphere.
non-developable surface, Brian. It won't work the
Yeah,
other
it's
way.
non-developable. Yeah, right.
Well,
It's
He
non-developable.
just said it would be distorted, Bev. He
But
just
you
said
got
it
to
would
do
be
it on a
distorted.
flat surface, Bev, and then convert it to the sphere. That's what I'm trying to tell them. You got to do it on a flat surface and then convert it as a sphere. That's what I'm trying to tell these fools. You just put it.
I know, but there's a very specific question though, that you said these measurements work when you assume a flat Earth. I'm asking the specific question: do they not work when you assume a flat Earth? Then
You just said the same thing. Didn't he say flat Earth twice?
Question.
He did, yeah.
Repeat the
You
question,
assume it's
Biodual.
on a flat
I
Earth, then
repeated the
does it?
question
You
because I
assume it
didn't-
works on a flat Earth?
I
was something like
didn't
the
get an answer, so I wanted to reword it sort of, but I didn't get an answer. If there's not one, that's fine. I can move on. I was just hoping
Biodual,
for
I
one.
think you said the wrong word. So
Then I'll be very clear. Yeah, Brian said that these measurements work when you assume a sphere Earth. I'm asking, does that mean when you assume a flat Earth, the measurements don't work?
No,
Would that be
no.
true?
When you convert it, when you convert flat measurements like they do with the AMAP, when they put it on a ball, okay, they don't go measure the Earth with spears in their hand, and they might now with computers, but they're already going off the old shit. Okay, now what my point is when they take the AE map and wrap it around a ball, okay, then the ball measurements is the only thing that's going to match reality because you have calculated it to a ball, but it had to be done on a developable surface, and that's a flat surface, bro.
The distances on an AE map do not work, Brian.
Who says?
Anybody,
Then pull
look,
it out.
if you take a
We'll go over it
plane,
together. That's all I can
if
keep
you
telling
take a plane
show you
from
physically.
Australia
Jump in
to
the
South
hour.
America, the AE map says it would be something like twice the distance it actually is, and the plane would have to be traveling over 1,000 miles to get there in the time it can. So it cannot work.
Rumpus, they rarely do that flight. There's got to be a problem
They
with it if they
do
barely
the
ever
flight,
fucking do.
and it for the distance on the AE
Rumpus,
map, they have
even
to be
the
going
fucking
twice the speed of sound, and they do not do that.
Rumpus, the whole Brazilian soccer team and half their fucking population who went to the Olympics a long time ago all went up to LA, then to fucking Sydney. Okay? Now there must be some problem if they're flying fucking a big population of a country to fucking Los Angeles to get to Australia.
There are
Okay?
direct flights from Australia to South America that are done a certain amount of time that on the AE map would require them to go over 1,000 miles an hour. That in one stroke eliminates the AE
We
map
have seen
that you
flights.
have.
We've seen videos of that flight before, Brian. That flight does appear to exist, unless that would be a pretty elaborate ruse.
Yeah. Yeah. Mac Egan
Lots of
took
people
it.
have
The compass
taken that.
did not work on the globe.
I don't think it. Yeah,
Just
you're
took
right.
that flight.
You're right. No one brings that up. That was interesting. And just because they can fly from this point to this point in this amount of time, there's other variables involved. I don't know. It's just not convincing to me.
Not ones
It's possible.
that cause you to go have 1,000-mile-an-hour ground speed. That's the point, Brandon.
1,000 miles per hour ground speed. Well, I guess how fast does the plane go? 600 miles an hour. So I don't know, 400 mile per hour wind.
500
That
miles
flight
an hour.
average 4 hours
And it
late.
required, it's
That
over,
flight-
well over 1,000 miles an hour that will be required. It's something like 1,300. or
Rumpus,
something.
that flight average 4 hours late, bro. You have not reached this thoroughly,
It doesn't
bro.
matter what it
Yeah,
averages.
you know
The
what?
point
Brian's
is they
got a
can
point.
do
Let's look at an actual flight from like FlightAware, the data, because I've asked about this before. Brenda used to talk about this all the time. We asked, can you please show us the actual data set for this flight so we can take a look at the numbers and try to address your concern? And I don't think we ever received that. Now we received a booking thing. You know,
Brandon,
a website you can go and sign up for this flight, but it was canceled and it had a layover.
Brandon, I believe that last time, 2 times ago when I was on, I in fact provided the ADSB data from FlightAware for these flights.
Yeah,
And
instead of
everybody-
providing
and
a whole page.
everybody-
No, I'll
provide
show you
like
what
the
I'm talking about.
No, Brandon, they
Hold on.
provide the quickest view in history.
My gosh.
Bro, is what they do.
I'll
They'll
show you what
provide
I'm
the
talking
quickest
about.
view in history. My point is why on God's green earth would they go through Los Angeles to get from
for a
America?
layover,
I mean,
Brian. For a layover.
It's a fair question,
With
but
a
here
full
is
plane,
what is
dude.
this site called? This one right here, FlightAware.
FlightAware.
I want the FlightAware
Yeah,
data, a
FlightAware.
flight with actual detailed data. There's a detailed data backup that you can click on here, and it gives you all kinds of shit. And you can download it and play around with it. I want an actual flight that flew that route with all the data.
Which flight do you want? I'll get it for you, Brandon.
Whichever one you're claiming disproves a flat Earth.
Sure, I can get you one between every one of the points that I posted.
Yeah, try Australia to, what is it, Perth to Santiago or something.
Yeah, there's
Santiago to Sydney. Santiago to Sydney.
Yeah, that would do if it does that as well.
Then you can do Perth to Cape Town.
Yeah, that'd be another one, yeah.
No, Cape Town, no. Fuck Cape Town. That's fucking Africa. That ain't worth a shit. We don't care about Cape Town.
It's almost as far as going to South America. It's just going across the Indian Ocean rather than across the Pacific. Why do you so care?
Because that
Wait,
one
so-
works on either map, either model.
No, it doesn't work on the flat map.
Yes, it does.
No, it
You
does
fucking
not.
idiot, dude.
It would require
Dude,
the
tell me-
plane to go
hold
over
on,
1,000
hold
miles
on,
an
hold on.
hour.
Rumpus, tell me why tens of thousands of people would get flown from Brazil to Sydney through Los Angeles. Tens of thousands of people for the fucking
Economic.
for their
There's an economic
soccer
factor here. I mean, I don't know what you're just making something up, and that and the economics get involved.
Oh
because
my
it's not.
God.
If
Brian,
it
that's
has a
actually-
layover, that's no good.
Brian, hold up. Brian, that's actually the easiest question in the world to answer. It is cheaper to go to Los Angeles and drop people off and then get another load of people and take them
No, bro. No. This was a big part of their population going to watch their national.
It's still cheaper, Brian.
It was a big part of their
Yeah,
population.
so it's still cheaper.
All
So it's
these
even more
flights
important
went
it's
through-
cheaper then, isn't it?
Listen, let me finish.
So the cost is even
Let me
more
finish.
important, Brian, isn't it?
Only a couple more hours to get to Australia than
But
Los
if it's
Angeles from there. You
if
fucking
it's
fool.
cheaper because it's more economical.
Listen,
There are more
if it
flights
has a
than
layover,
ads.
we don't care about it. You guys understand
Yeah,
that?
we're not in-
if
yeah,
there's
agreed,
a layover,
agreed,
we
we
shouldn't
agree
even
with
be
that.
talking about it.
We're not. Yeah, we're agreed. We're trying to find. Rossi Marty's going to go and get straight, direct line, direct flight from.
How are you making out a spherical access
What
measurement?
percent economical when it adds 14 hours to the flight to cut through Los Angeles? It adds 14 hours airtime. He's a genius, people.
Because if it's more, sometimes going the most economical thing to do is you have to pick on flights where the airplanes are going to be filled, and the traffic between Santiago and Perth or Sydney is going to be less than that between Santiago and Los
That's
Angeles.
why I brought up the example of a big their whole nation. Their
But
national
Brian, if
soccer
we
team,
have flight
including
time,
fans.
if we have flight time
The
for a
reason
direct
I
route,
brought that up is so you didn't say act like the planes weren't full. They had
Brian.
dozens of planes. Dozens.
Brian, if
tens
we
of
have a
dozens.
direct flight that does take a very short time, that's not possible on the flat Earth, then the flat Earth is invalidated.
Go get those spherical access
Marcy
measurements.
Marcy's on the case at the moment, getting the flight times for either Santiago to Perth or Sydney, or Cape Town to Perth or Sydney.
All right, and why
You're trying to steal my argument, bro? The whole deal is cutting through Los Angeles is economically retarded, and you're trying to say economically. You're trying to steal my argument, dude. And
I have a
economically retarded to fucking almost double your
Brian,
flight time.
it's irrelevant. If we can show that there are direct flights, there are direct flights that are too quick, that cannot cover that distance, then that's all we need to know. We don't. The issue about whether some other flights take an indirect route is irrelevant.
Okay, you're hanging your hat on flight pass and excess of triangles.
Okay, here you go.
If we can show that an aeroplane is traveling at 500 miles an hour, covers much greater distance than it can on the AE map, then the AE map doesn't work. It's very simple.
So you are.
Why would you fly 2 extra hours?
Yes.
So 2 extra hours to get to Australia, but you'd rather go up to Los Angeles instead of flying 2 extra little
It's
hours.
irrelevant. If the AE map says the distance between
second?
those 2 points
All right, you guys
requires an airplane to travel at 1,400 miles an hour, and they only travel at 500 miles an hour, then there's something wrong with the map.
I'm not bought into the AE map. Is there people here who are bought into the AE map?
AE map.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask.
so
Who's
hold
made
up,
the
hold
claim
up,
that
guys.
it's
Well,
actually-
suggest another one if you like, Brandon.
All right,
Yeah,
Rumpus,
so
I
you
have
can
the actual. Hey guys,
straw man that one too, huh?
guys, hold up. I gave you the
Yeah,
actual
you're gonna pin,
data.
you're gonna
cares
pin
about
this
your
map
data?
on us that's clearly a projection, right?
We sent you to get the data so we didn't have to listen to
Hey,
you.
can you guys? Hey guys, can you chill out for a second? Dang.
Can you go get us some more data, please?
Yes, I
He's
got
getting
you.
it
Now
now.
get some more numbers.
Hey
Just say
guys,
we can't lay down on flat
That's what you
surface.
asked for, Racky. He was
Hey,
asked
guys,
to produce
can
it,
you
and now he
guys
is.
chill out for a second.
No, but that was just to get rid of him for a while.
Ricky, can you
So
shut
you're not
up?
interested in data then,
Rumpus.
Racky? You don't want any data.
Rumpus.
No.
All right.
You don't want. There we go. He just said it. He doesn't want your data.
Oh, there you go. Must be the globe.
He's not
Brandon,
interested in actual evidence. He wants to
Rakia
fly-
said he
wants
didn't
to
want
stick his head
data.
in the sand
This
like an
is
ostrich.
globe.
He doesn't want any data that might,
Hey, Rumpus,
might
give me
invalidate
that
his
data on
delusions.
how much
That's a
Horizon dropped.
classic line, isn't it? You're
Give
not
me that
interested in
data on
evidence.
how much
You're
Horizon
a
dropped
reality
over
denier, aren't
screen
you?
over static
Can we
water.
You
listen to
want to
RC
deny
instead of
reality. You
Rakia?
don't like real data.
You want to talk about that data?
One thing Meisty won't give us is GPS data.
I know. Micey's
One
trying to
thing
present
Meisty
something
won't
that
give us.
everyone asked for.
I just get guys. I
Yeah, but
just
one thing
posted
Meisty
it. Why
won't
are
give
you
us
saying
is
I
GPS
don't
data.
All right,
There it is.
guys.
He's trying to give us
Micey has
data.
I want
something.
you
Let
to
him-
Okay,
let him
Micey,
data
you
the
got
whole
some
way.
actual data. Where is it?
Yes, I just posted it in the chat here. So I posted first. We have LATAM flight 805 that goes directly from Santiago to
What's your
Melbourne.
source?
And then drops off.
Guys, can you shut up for a second?
Who controls the tracking?
Let's
Who's your
hold on.
source?
Let's hear him out. He's brought some actual
up
data
for a
here.
second.
Let's hear him.
And then,
Can we hear the
and
source
then
of the data?
And then the second requested one. Hey,
Flight
hold up.
aware.
The second requested one from FlightAware.
Planes don't do that.
Correct ADSB data is Perth to Cape Town. And now I'll get you another one from Cape Town back to South America.
I don't care about Cape Town, dude.
How many miles of
Listen,
ocean is that?
You're not showing us
Hold
GPS data
on.
continuous. You're showing us data that drops off. But here, I'll accept
doesn't
that data.
drop
But
off.
let me,
It
So
doesn't
I've got
drop
this
off.
one up, and for the majority of this flight, the data is estimated, so that's no good.
No, but
The
it
beginning
actually
and
is
the
more-
end,
no, hold up,
there's
hold up.
detailed data for. That's the Santiago, Chile to Melbourne, Australia flight. That's no good.
No, this is
Why
not
is that no
estated.
good?
Actually, hold up. On the
Hey,
right
stop.
side. Hey,
We're
hey,
estimating
stop,
data.
You
stop,
only need to
stop,
We're
start
not
and end
measuring
times,
shit.
On the
Brandon.
right side.
You
hey,
only need to know when the airplane
Brandon.
left and when it arrived. That's the
Brandon,
only
Yeah.
two bits
the
of
right
data you
side.
need.
Hey,
Hold on,
Rumpus,
Rumpus.
give me a second. Brandon, on the right side,
Uh-huh.
click on, go up a little bit and click on flight log. Okay. Or flight track log. Go up a little bit more.
Track log. That's what I clicked
Little bit
on.
more.
Yep.
Okay. Now click on track
Okay.
log. Now these are not estimated. Okay. These are
These
actual.
are estimated.
No, here's where you're wrong on that one.
Here we
because
go.
what you see where we see
Let's
we
see how
see on
long
the
it's
right
estimated
side.
for.
Stop, hold up.
No,
On
no,
the
no,
right
no.
side,
Hold
you
on a
see
minute. Hold on. You just said these are
Listen.
not estimated. I want to
They're
see
not.
how much time it's estimated, and then you can blather on with some excuses. Monday, 3:05.
Okay.
To they pick it back up. Monday, 2:34. So that's about 12 hours of missing data.
So it's not actually missing data. What it is
12 hours
is that
of missing data.
Listen for a second.
What is it actually if it's not estimated data?
So what it is actually recorded within the ADSB, and that's why it says ADSB on the side. And what happens is that ADSB records it through that entire time, and then when it gets the internet connection back, okay, it downloads all of that data. What it simply means is that it wasn't the real-time tracking. So then you ask yourself, how can I verify it? It's by the timing. So what we can verify is the timing.
No, that's not what I asked you
Now
for.
you're just getting into calculations.
No, it's not a calculation.
Not
It is
measurements.
calculations.
Calculations.
You can
This
verify
isn't a
the
complete
timing.
data set.
Listen,
It's got
fucking
12
verify-
hours of
Hey,
missing
can you
data,
finish?
period.
You can verify the timing of when it took
12
off and
hours
when it
of
landed.
missing data, period. It's no
Data, hey,
use.
what
Do you
can
understand
is
that?
verify the
Oh,
takeoff
so it goes
time
over
and
the ocean for
landing
12
time.
hours. And
All
you're
right,
saying
so
that's
let's look
bad
at this
data.
one. This one
Verify the
is
takeoff time.
Santiago to Melbourne.
You can verify
take
the
a look.
takeoff time and the landing time.
I don't
Wait a
give
minute,
a
so it
shit
goes over
about
the
the
ocean for
takeoff
12
time and
hours
landing. I
and-
want to see what's in between. This one is the same thing.
Why?
It's all
Why?
estimated.
Why?
It kind of matters what happens in between the fucking
Why
flight.
do you care what happens in between, Brandon? The only thing that matters is the start and the end.
If
It's
you don't know
destination.
why you're curious about why it happens in between, we shouldn't even be fucking having this conversation.
Oh,
That's
so
not-
where do you
that's
think
not
it
the
goes for
point.
12 hours over the ocean?
We
Don't
know
give
that
a
there's
shit
no
where it
internet
goes.
access over the
Where do you
bloody
think
middle
it
of the
goes? 12
ocean.
hours
I
over
want to
the
see the
ocean?
data for where it goes. You don't
Well,
give me
just-
an
right, you wanna
incomplete
pick on
data
the place
set.
where there's no internet
It's missing.
access.
This flight is only.
Brandon, can I ask a more important question,
Oh
please?
no, you can't. I'm in the
Brandon,
middle
can
of
I ask a more
fucking
important question
ditching
about
these guys out. No,
the
hold
start
on.
and stop time?
This
No,
is a
the start and stop
15-hour
time.
flight here, and we have 12 hours of data missing. 15-hour
out of
flight,
Sydney,
and there's
and
12
13
hours
hours
of
later,
data
it's
missing. Hey,
Santiago.
Rumpus, can you do the math for that?
Where do you think it's
Hold on,
between
Ruff.
those
Only
two?
the start and end matter, Brandon.
So it takes off in Sydney.
No,
12 hours later,
no,
the
that is
same
not how it
airplane lands in
works.
Santiago. So what do you think
No,
it's
it
done for the
doesn't.
last 13 hours?
Don't
No, it
care.
doesn't,
Do you have any
Shield.
more, or was it just
Need to
these
do
two,
something.
Nicety?
Yeah, maybe they hitched a ride on a rocket. What do you care?
So, Brad,
Do
if
you
we had,
have
if we had
any
live
more
streaming-
than this, Meisty?
So that's your
So
rebuttal.
what you're saying is unless you have live
Brandon,
data over the
please.
ocean for 13 hours, it's invalid, right?
Where is
Do
it?
you have any more than this, Meisty?
No, hold up. Listen, Brandon. The point is that this is actual data that is recorded within the airplane. And the only reason it says estimated is because it's not.
Yeah, we don't need to hear that again.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Hey,
RC.
Brandon, can I just say one
Max
thing?
Egan like over 16 hours to get there, and he
Yeah,
was
go
going
ahead,
minutes
Rob.
a lot of the time.
Please. Yeah,
Go
they
ahead.
say that the start and end times are the important ones. So is it traveling at a set speed and there's no deviation from that set speed the entire time that it's in that estimated mode?
But the point is,
know.
on a flat Earth, it requires it to go at 1,300 or 400
No
miles an hour, which
idea
is not
because there's
possible
12
to
hours
do.
of missing data.
Guarantee
80%
that's
of
what it was
the.
doing?
We don't need to know about that.
This gives you the time.
Yes, you
It gives
do.
you
Don't be a
the
fucking retard.
heading and the longitude and latitude. And if you get the knots, the miles per hour, how high it is. This is kind of important data. 80% of it is
That's
missing.
That's not.
It's not important.
If you had a video,
If we
of
know
your
when the
wife hanging
airplane
out with
left
a
one
dude
place
and it
we
went
know when
blank
it
for
arrived
12
at the
hours
other,
and then
we
came back,
then know.
are you going
and
to
that
be
is- that
suspicious
is
of what happened in that 12 hours?
Yeah, you don't
I think
care,
I
right?
would be.
Your claim is that we took this flight. We took this continuous flight. It went from here to here. It went along this route. It's too far for the plane to go in that amount of time. It's route dependent, you fucking jagoffs.
What? Wait, it took off from one airport, it landed in another airport.
Wow, I could
How
get
is
that
it
for any
supposed-
flight,
what-
couldn't I? And
what
I'll just
could
assume that it's
have happened-
impossible.
What could have happened in the middle that helped your argument?
The compass,
Give me the
Judge,
complete
the way
data
they
and
say
then we'll
that
talk
it's going
about it.
That's what could have
next
happened.
fucking flight.
It could have
Until
went
I have the
somewhere other
data,
than where
I
they
can't
said
tell
it
you,
would.
Chucky.
That's what could have happened.
What on flat Earth? What could it do to get?
Chikey,
Take a different
Chikey,
path.
they did this
That's
flight
what.
live, and the
What do you
compass.
mean?
Hold on, guys. Hold
Find
on.
that
They did
different
this
path.
flight
Maybe
live,
not.
Chikey. They did this flight live. The compass did not match the globe. One more time, Chikey. We watched this flight live. Max Egan took it. The compass did not match the globe. Now
Because
drop it.
Because the southern pole does not match where the southern magnetic pole doesn't match the southern geographic celestial pole. You
You ever
moron.
get tired of excuses, Rumpus? Rumpus, do you ever
It's
get
just a
tired of
fact.
excuses?
Reality is more complicated than your simplistic view of the world. There are complicated
I'm
factors.
talking
you
about
need to-
empirical
and your
evidence,
brain
empirical.
doesn't seem capable of coping with these complications of reality.
We got some super chats I'm going to read here real quick. Thank you guys very much. Anamorphic Mind. Another day, Rumpus schools the mentally challenged again. I don't think those words are in the right order, Anamorphic Mind, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Thank you very much, man. And let's see what else we got here. We got a couple from James Mays. What's up, James? Don't let them circle jerk us. Fucking A. Bev, and I hope you start banning these fundies. SE, this is just ridiculous. Yeah, it's getting a little old, isn't it, James? Thank you very much, sir. Bev, what's Brandon this? Why you guys have to ban these fundies? They are tired and have nothing credible to add to the conversation. Ban these fundies. A lot of people calling for you guys to be banned because you bring the same shit to the table every fucking day. The same lame insults in chat. The same shit. Thank you very much, James. I appreciate that, man. I feel you on that. It's a little ridiculous. Swamp Boy 34, the AE map we see was already converted to a ball and then back to a flat AE map. We never see the original measurements. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I want to look into that one of these days. Thank you very much, Swamp Boy 34. Great comment, man. I'm going to read that to the audience. And Kango 24, skeptics, please explain why compass manufacturers make different compasses for the different hemispheres of Earth. Is it a conspiracy with compasses? I don't know. Why don't you tell us, Kango 24? Tell us about how this 1000th random tidbit has a plausible explanation and proves to you the globe. Why don't you tell us about it? Thank you very much, Kango. Appreciate that. You guys are awesome.
Why don't you tell us what the distance is between those two places? Tell us, go away,
Okay.
find out what the distance is, and then you
Whatever
might
it is,
think,
okay?
there's something odd going on here. If the plane, which only travels at 500 miles an hour, can do it in 12 hours or whatever, when on your model, it would require it to be taking twice as long.
Bullshit.
Well,
Yeah,
tell us,
you
tell
know
us
what?
the distance then,
Hold
Brian.
on, let me respond to that.
You tell us
You
the
think,
distance
man, you
between
think, man, they probably would hardly ever take that flight. So
It doesn't
long. They
matter
probably
how
hardly
often it's
ever take
taken,
it.
Brian. It doesn't matter whether only one person ever
flight
took
path,
that
Rob,
flight.
yeah.
That's
Just
all that
On our
matters. That one
model,
person did
winds
it.
blow harder towards
You
the
tell
fucking
us the
head.
distance between those 2 points. If you're not happy with our distance,
On
you
our
go away.
model,
On
on
your
our
model,
model, the winds blow harder around the
what's the
edge.
distance on your model between, was it Santiago and Cape Town? Is
Sydney.
it this one? Sydney and Cape Town, or whatever it was.
In Los Angeles is the 3 I put up.
And how many miles of water is that?
Figure it out. You tell me.
No, you tell me.
No, you got a map. You figure it out. You tell me how far it goes on the flat Earth and how they
Well,
fly.
your model's not skipping a jump, bro. Why don't they take it all the time?
They do. You want the Qantas map? Hold on a second. I got the Qantas map. I got the Qantas route map.
No,
here
give us the
somewhere. Here it is.
Qantas data. Give us the data from an actual flight.
Bro, when
Brandon,
dude did it
can I ask
live,
a
it took
question?
4 hours longer than
Right
it
there.
was supposed to
Here's
take.
the Qantas
They're
map.
full of shit. When we watched it empirically, it took 4 hours longer than they said it was going to take. Okay? They could give us all these times, all this bullshit. When we watched it in real life, it did not match their fucking data. They're
Yeah,
full of
I know,
shit.
Brian.
guys.
I mean,
denying the
there's
time frame,
nothing, Brian. There's nothing to debunk here. They haven't provided
the Qantas
any
route map?
evidence.
We
The
have
Qantas
the
route
time
map?
that something
There's
arrives and leaves at these 2
80% of the
points.
data missing. This is nothing.
Irrelevant,
It's not
right?
even worth looking at.
Oh my God, Brian, you can't be this stupid. You must be pretending here. If we say that the minimum distance between these 2 points is
There is nothing worth looking at here.
Why? Because we don't have constant data for your
Shoot.
flight.
Yes, you know,
What plane
constant.
flies
Do you
over all
call
that
80% of data missing? Just a little
not
bit of missing
missing, it was
data? Is
just
that what
delayed.
you call it?
It was not missing. It's delayed.
Answer the
There's a
question,
difference.
yes
Of
or
course it
no.
is.
Do you
There's
call 80% missing data
not
a complete
missing.
data set? Yes or no?
It's not missing. It's not missing. It's delayed. There's a difference.
It's not in here, is it? This flight is from when? When's this flight from? Paid NASA show. Let's take a look. When was
What
this?
data you
This
talking
was
about?
on the 2nd of July.
Where's
Play
this?
dumb, Shield. We know you
Where's
have
the
to.
where's the data? How delayed is it? Is it out in Antarctica, or did they forget it in somewhere over the Pacific, or where's the data?
So let's see. The plane took off from Sydney and landed in Santiago some 13 hours later. And your problem is what?
Do I really need to explain what my problem is?
Yeah.
accurate. And then
Yeah, there's 12 hours of missing data. 80% of the data is
You
missing.
went for 12
And
hours.
that's the
And you're
first
trying
on a flight
to
that-
make an argument about how fast and what route the plane took. So that's not going to work for me.
Oh, I see. So you know that these planes can only travel like 600 miles an hour, right?
So you guys keep saying the same mantras over and over again, but when it comes down to
same
it, you
mantra.
just don't have the evidence.
It's not the fucking same mantra. What do you mean it's not the evidence? How fast do you think these
There's a
airplanes can fly?
stratosphere down there.
do that.
Hold on, the
80%
stratosphere
data
is
missing is
13,000
not
miles
evidence.
lower.
Can we ask a pilot about
are these
airplane
airplanes
information?
supersonic?
Yeah,
Why
Rakia,
is
I think that's a good
NASA
idea.
Shield-
Concrete pour.
Yeah.
Mr. Concrete Pour, be quiet. I know about
Why
it
is Paid NASA Shield talking about all this piloting stuff?
because I know about it, Rocky. Unlike you.
Yeah, you know about it.
NASA
You've been
Shield.
on forums. You're
Paid
not a
NASA
pilot.
Shield.
Yeah, fuck off.
Paid NASA Shield. That latitude, how high is the stratosphere?
Same as in the United States.
No, it's not. It's about 13,000 feet lower. There's
Oh,
information
what
you have not looked up and considered.
Well,
So take your dumb ass away and do the research like we've all done, or
You
listen
haven't
to
done
it.
any research.
that's going to change the horizontal distance. Is it?
I have
So
a-
I'm doing
I
that.
have an
That's
answer
not
for
gonna
the
be horizontal.
question.
Yeah, it goes down when it goes down up high. So what? In England, it's the same thing. So what?
I have an answer for you.
So what? That's
Uh,
your rebuttal. That's all you
So
got.
what? What
Who
does the
cares how
stratosphere-
high the
what
atmosphere
does
is?
the
What?
height of the stratosphere
doesn't
got to
change the
do with
distance on the
flying
ground.
times? What does the height of the stratosphere got? It only means that they get to the stratosphere sooner. Instead of like 18,000 feet, it's like 13. Big deal.
Have you ever looked at the wind currents? They're way stronger
So,
on the
okay, so
outer.
they're strong one way and the other way too. So they're strong both ways, or just one
Well,
way?
So everything I tell him, you see what he does, people? Everything I tell him, he just, well, try that, try that, do this or that. I mean, the guy's not honest, man.
Mike
The
check.
flight
Hello.
times east to west are very similar to the flight times west to east.
Hello?
How's that happen? If you're going to explain winds help the thing.
Yeah, who's
Yeah.
saying hello?
Because they fly different directions, bro. If you'd researched this, you'd know the answer to that.
I
If
researched
the
this.
times are similar,
directions
Brian,
and
you
different
can't
heights.
claim wind, can you? If the times are similar, then you can't claim the wind is boosting it one way. And
Right.
the wind cannot be responsible for adding 700 miles an hour. We don't have winds of that speed.
So,
on the
Brandon,
Go
Earth.
get
that's the
a
whole
complete
point, right?
data set, and then we can talk more about these flights.
Yeah,
Don't
I was
need it. We
gonna
only
say
need to
that.
start and end times. That's all we need.
Oh, don't please. That's the whole point. We got 12 missing hours of data, Rumpus.
Doesn't
In
matter.
those 12 missing hours, you can make shit up. We
Doesn't
can make shit
matter.
up until we get that data. We got nothing.
Irrelevant. The key point is how quickly can airplanes
Then
fly?
this whole
It's
thing is
500
illuminating.
miles an hour.
Mongol.
And if your AE
Holy
map says
shit.
it's twice as far as it can possibly have done it, then
Yeah,
there's something
whatever.
wrong with your map.
We don't have an AE map. I don't own the AE
Robert,
map.
what is
I
your
don't
map,
claim the
Brandon?
AE map. So you're
Okay,
pinning
what
on
is your
us
map?
a map that I'm not claiming. Actually, let me read this comment from somebody. It's a good comment, something to think about. Swamp Boy 34. The AE map we see was already converted to a ball and then back to the flat AE map. We never see the original measurements. Like he's thinking that there might be some kind of double conversion going on. That's
Yeah.
Okay,
fucking things
Antonio
up.
Subrat's map. Antonio Subrat's flat Earth map. That flight works fine. It may be off by a couple hours, which could easily be explained by wind speed. Let me say one other thing. Okay, if we were on a globe, never would that flight go up to fucking Los Angeles and then back down to Australia for
it
2
would if
extra
it's-
hours.
Yes, it would if it's cheaper. So, Brandon, you tell me what you think
So
the distance
I'm
is
not going to
between
argue
those
about this
2
flight
points.
anymore until we get some data to actually.
But how about
argue
you
about.
telling us what you? Okay, Brandon, you tell me, as Brian, I suspect,
No,
won't
no,
do
no.
it.
See
what
what
you
I
think
just
the
said.
distance
You
between
heard what
these
I
2
just
points?
said, right? I said
Yeah, I
I'm
did.
not going to
But
argue
I'd
about
like
this
to know
flight
from
anymore.
you. I would like to know what distance you think is between Santiago.
Go look at the Book
There
of the
we go.
Sun. Go buy the Book of the
Go get
Sun,
us
or
some
look at his
data.
channel, Antonio Subrat, and he's got the measurements. Okay, I've already done this research. I'm not going to do it for you.
I think Brenda said she had some evidence. Do you guys want to hear what her evidence for the globe is?
Yeah, I want to hear. I want to hear.
Okay. Brenda, what's your evidence for the globe that you've brought to us today?
I posted it. It's a photograph. It's a GIF of the sun setting and not reducing in angular size.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it reduces during sundogs. Brenda, it breaks
Yeah,
off into 3.
Every sunset refutes the flat Earth.
Wow.
The sun is a parent, Brenda. That's
No,
true
hold on,
during
Brian.
sundog.
Every
We have
sunset,
3 little.
every sunset refutes the flat Earth because on your model the sun is above the plane of the Earth. It going below the plane of the Earth refutes your flat Earth theory.
It doesn't go below the plane of the Earth.
So you think it goes?
That's
up
what a
and up?
sunset is. That's what a sunset is.
No,
the sunset
it's
is
an
the sun
apparent.
going
it
below the
apparently
plane
goes
of the
below
Earth.
the plane of the Earth. The sun
So-
doesn't
Gee, why
actually
didn't
go
you think
below
of
the plane
that?
of the Earth. That's silly.
Why
so
didn't you
every-
think of that? Why are we here? The sun could never set over a flat plane. And you know what? What's funny is
yes, you're right.
Everything in reality, everything that we know the elevation drops off in the distance. And on your model, everything we don't know the elevation is supposed to not drop off in the distance, okay? But birds, planes, clouds, insects, fucking helicopters, everything where we know the altitude, mountains, streetlights, they drop off in the distance until they disappear into the horizon.
Yeah, that's
But the
not what
sun,
happens.
All of a sudden, the sun just breaks all the rules, don't it, Brenda?
Yes, it does. It does because it goes below the horizon and does not reduce in angular size.
Have you ever heard of Snell's law, Brenda?
Yeah, that's about refraction.
Well, can you tell me what it says?
So it's just a typical measurement of refraction. What does that have to do with the sun being obstructed by the Earth?
I mean, what does Snell's law says happens with light?
So what? It's still not. It is irrelevant because the sun is being obstructed by the Earth.
Snell's law is
That's
irrelevant
irrelevant.
now. So let me ask you another question.
Yes, refraction has nothing to do
when we see
with
the
obstruction.
sun, when we see the sun on the horizon in your model, is it really on the horizon? Is it where we see it?
No, it's refracted above it. Yeah.
Oh, so it's not really there, but we see it there. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. How is that
So it
relevant
does
to
look
it
like,
being
even in your model, you acknowledge that the sun can appear to be somewhere that it's not. Is that correct?
So how is that relevant to the sun
Yes or
being
no? Is that correct?
obstructed? How is it? It's not relevant.
Is that correct? Yes or no?
This is what you call the curly shuffle.
It changes its vertical position, yes. But
Is that correct? Yes or
Yes, it
no, Brenda?
The curly shuffle.
Brenda.
So when you guys are done, it has
Go
an
ahead.
apparent position. It has an apparent position due to refraction. That doesn't change the fact that the sun sets.
So you've just told me that the sun is somewhere other than where it appears to be, yet you're worried that you can see the sun appear to go into the ground. Does that make any sense to you?
Does the sun set? Does the sun set?
Yes, of course.
Well,
There's a sunset, Brenda.
Sunsets, yes, yes, thank you for admitting. Sunsets happen. A sunset is impossible on a flat earth.
You're just going to repeat the same thing over and over again. All right.
Brenda,
Thanks for playing.
everything sets that goes off in the distance, Brenda. I repeat, everything sets that goes off in the distance that's big enough to be seen. Everything, Brenda. The sun is no different.
The sun on your model is 4,000 miles above the surface.
God.
How
It
this
is?
flat
When did we
surface-
give you a measurement of how high the sun is?
I don't know. These are numbers coming from you guys.
No, mine's 34.
Who said that?
Mine's 34 with a tiny bit of refraction. It's set just fine.
Tell
Okay?
us, Brandon,
Just like your
what height it is
number
then.
6R bullshit.
Brian, you tell
Okay.
us what the height of the sun is then. Brian or Brandon, you.
And my model, it's about 3,500. Okay, it's close. It's between the radius of the Earth and
there
in
you
my
are.
model.
So
In my model, it takes less refraction than the curve of the Earth to get it set.
Right, so you've just said that the
3,000
sun is
miles
always
above the
3,500 miles above the surface of the Earth. Therefore, how do you account for it setting and going
Okay,
below
let
the
me tell you
plane of the
how.
Earth?
In your model, you curve the ground. In my model, I curve the light. In your model, when light bends, it makes everything look flat. In my model, when light bends, it makes things look curved. Okay? Your shit's backwards, bro.
So, Brian, you need to give us a demonstration of how light actually bends in your model.
We've done that. Pebbles on the Pond's done it on this very channel. And with I know you didn't like it, but you can't demonstrate y'all's refraction. We can demonstrate ours.
That's why.
Brandon done it in a fish tank, too.
Brian, we know that light doesn't bend that
Bro,
much.
you can ask me all these questions. Why won't you respond to how come when light bends and refracts, everything looks fucking
We know
flat?
light doesn't bend that much. How much do you think light would have to bend for it to hide a 3,500 mile above the surface sun?
Less than the curvature of the Earth.
Are you sure?
Less. I repeat. Yes, I'm positive. Do the math. Put it 3,500 feet up there, and then less. It's squared.
So, if it's midnight if it's midnight,
don't not acknowledge what I just said. My
Where did
sun
you get this
refraction
3,500
is
mile
less
number
than
from,
the
Brian?
fucking curve of your Earth.
Brian, explain where you got this number from.
Good question, Brandon. Good question.
Trigonometry, man.
You don't know trig.
Trigonometry without adding the Earth radius.
You can do trig if you're left.
Well, show us, Brian, your calculation, please.
Nothing hard about it.
So, Brian, here's a question.
He has shown it before, but I don't know that
if the
it's
sun is
easy
3,000
to
miles
present.
high and 3,000 miles away, what
Please
angle
show
am I
your
looking at?
calculation, Brian.
Okay, listen, I got Polaris at 36. Look, about 3,800. I got the sun about 100 miles less than that, to be honest. Okay, now just do your triangulation. It works out the same with the moon. It's a little bit less with the moon. The size of the moon's a smidge less. Okay, look, all this stuff's been done. Just triangulate it, and you're going to get numbers right around that. Rumpus,
Show me your data,
you realize for the sun to set, you just need a little refraction through thicker atmosphere. Okay, when the sun starts getting lower, it starts going through more and more thicker atmosphere. So logistically, it would bend the light.
No,
okay, that's sunsets are sunsets ever a perfect sphere set? No, in your model, the sun ain't even really there. It's so refracted. So how come you can have refraction in your model? We can't have refraction in our model. Is that biased or what, dude?
Hey, Brian, I bet I could tell you exactly where your sun is right now.
You've already tried that, man. Last time
Who
you were
cares?
wrong.
What are you talking about? You can tell him where his sun is right now. What the fuck are you talking about?
I guarantee if you go out right now, the sun is 15.75 degrees above the horizon.
So what?
The sun's already set, bro. The sun's already set here, bro. It's almost dark here. Okay, let me put my camera on. The sun's already lower than the trees, bro. That makes me a fucking liar, which makes you a dick. Hold on, put my fucking camera on. It's already lower than the trees, asshole. Ready?
Can you see the sun though?
It won't let me do video, dude. Every time this happens, it won't let me do video. Hey, Sharky, is the sun on the fucking horizon?
We
You hear
believe you,
that?
Brian.
Behind
You
the fucking
don't
trees.
feel the need to.
Can you see the horizon though? Can you see the sun?
No, that's what I'm telling you.
15 degrees above the horizon.
Let me bring my wife and kids out, bro. You can't see the sun. It's behind the trees, bro. It's
Yeah,
already
so if
set
you get
behind the
in
tree.
front of the
It's
trees,
not
I
15 degrees.
I bet if you could see the sun, it would be 15 degrees above the horizon.
All right, we
I
got
can
it.
see the
So hey,
sun
let's
behind the tree.
hold on, Brian, hold on. Let's see who else on the panel has a opinion on the sunsets, since it is a legitimate topic. Brian, I understand
This
your
dumbass
model.
is trying to
All
tell
you're
me the
doing,
sun behind the
essentially, what
trees,
you're
dude.
doing is you're inverting the
well, let me
what
video
they
it.
think is. You're inverting what they believe is physicality of the Earth's surface into light bending, which makes a hell of a lot more sense. But does anybody else have an opinion on what is happening with the sun?
Well, I mean, earlier Brenda said refraction has nothing to do with objects being blocked or hidden or something, which is absolute nonsense. Refraction could make things be hidden or not hidden. We know this from the black swan. I mean, if you want to get into what's hiding the sun with their geometric horizon, that's a whole other story. They lost on that one.
Oh, how do we lose on that one?
No, I mean in reality, Jeremy. How do you think it's happening in reality? That's what I'm asking. But that was a good answer because Pebble in the Pond.
I was just going to say a combination of perspective with light bending.
Yeah, seems totally reasonable. And we do have some observations that point to the fact that light can be hidden behind what would appear to be just the atmosphere. We've seen that with not only the sun, but lights on a smaller scale. We've been able to recreate that phenomena. So that's pretty easy there. What do you think, Earth is life? Do you think that a light can hide behind just the atmosphere?
A light
I mean by
that's
hide
3,000 miles above the a light that's 3,000 miles above the surface? I don't think so.
No, that's not what I asked. Do you think a light can hide just behind atmosphere?
Again, a light that's 3,000 miles above the surface? No.
You didn't say nothing
Can I
about
ask a
3,000
simple
miles. Answer the question, bitch.
When I ask a simple question and
barely-
you
even if it was
refuse to
that high,
answer
it's barely
it,
got a bend.
it says a lot more about you than just answering it. You should just answer it.
Like I said, if it's way above the surface, then no. It can't be hidden by the surface.
Yeah.
0.0001 radians for
But
it to
can
fucking.
you answer
it's
the
barely got
original
a bend
question,
at
which
all.
was... Hold on, Brian. Can you answer the actual fucking question? Was, do you think the atmosphere
Literally
can hide a light?
It would literally be touching the ground. It would
Do
literally
you think
literally
the
have to be touching the
atmosphere
ground.
itself can obscure a light from being seen? Yes or no?
No.
Not a high
No.
object.
Okay. Well, you can watch my screen and you can watch it.
Idiot.
They don't want to. They
Yeah,
don't want
it's
to.
not
They
a
don't
high
want to.
object.
Ask
is it?
Rumpus.
That's an object on the ground. That's very different.
Rumpus, can a light be obscured by the atmosphere in the distance?
Not if it's high up, no.
I didn't ask that.
I know.
Can it? I'm not
I was
extra
developing
shit.
it into the point that's more relevant to the situation.
Can
we're
it?
discussing,
Can a
the
light?
sun being
Can
at
a light?
3,500 miles.
Can a light
not
disappear
relevant to
into
the
the
situation.
atmosphere in the distance?
Not
No,
a high
it
object.
can't.
No.
Rumpus.
not a high object. No, which is what we want to
A low light then. A low light
yes.
then, Rumpus.
Yes, a something
okay.
on the horizon.
At what
cannot be
altitude?
obscured
At
by
what
the
altitude does
which
a
is
light
what-
have to be not to
Brandon
disappear in the
doesn't
distance?
like talking about high objects because he's
What's
got
the
video for
altitude?
a very low object. And yes,
Give
we
us
know
the altitude,
infrared
Rumpus.
We know infrared
Give us
rays
the
are
altitude,
at the bottom of objects, but they can't obscure objects high
Rumpus,
in the
before you
sky.
ramble on, give us the altitude a light needs to be that it won't disappear into the distance in the atmosphere.
Well, it needs not to be close to the horizon. I mean,
What altitude?
15 degrees.
No, what altitude above you does it have to start off not to disappear into the atmosphere in the distance?
God damn.
Well, it's going to depend on the angles. I think it's important, not the height. And obviously, because you don't understand trigonometry.
So it's not the height.
If you're not the angle, correct.
So it's the angle now.
Angle
so,
is important.
Earth.
Yes.
Hey, Earth
yes.
is not the height of the
high angle.
Has none of
It's a combination because
sometimes fades out, sometimes goes here. Has nothing to do with that, right? Y'all are lying to yourself.
When did I ever say
that dude calls himself Earth and just said
Shit, there's something going on with the setup here. 1 second, we'll be right back on if I have to close out OBS. I think it was just a Discord issue. Let me reopen that, and hopefully you guys can hear me now. Somebody give me the thumbs up if you can hear me now. Sorry about that. Hopefully Discord will open back up. Oh yeah, it's starting. Okay.
It's only about 20 degrees, okay? So quit acting like it should be way high in the fucking sky.
There we go.
Oh my god.
20 degrees. You're not going to be able to get to hide it from when it's up 20 degrees above the above your eye line. And also the physics doesn't
Dude, 7,000 miles of atmosphere, 6,000 miles of atmosphere, dude.
To do what you're suggesting would require an inversion of the temperature of the atmosphere all the way up.
Okay, do you know that? Do you know that? Do you know that? Do you know that the stratosphere at the equator
requires
is higher?
the temperature to be inverted,
Rumpus.
and it requires it to go up to a very great height to do that, and that would involve it getting down to absolute zero. We've modelled this.
No, you're not going to show me that. You can't show me that in reality, bro.
Yeah, you don't like science. I know, Rakia.
Don't listen to
You
you.
can't show me that in reality. You can't show it to me. What I can show you is moisture making shit refract. I can use moisture and make it refract, which we lack up at higher altitudes.
No, it doesn't.
So I can't refract light with moisture, Rumpus?
Not really, no. The effect's very small.
6,000 miles of moisture, Rumpus?
Doesn't, yeah, it makes no difference.
Declining as it gets higher? Declining as it gets higher in elevation?
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference, really. It's irrelevant.
No, you can't prove that, bro. You're being dishonest. You could never prove that.
Because I know what the refractive properties of water vapor are. You don't.
Bro, it's
I do.
over 6,000 miles,
You're speaking from a position of complete ignorance. You don't even
you're here to be
understand that the
dishonest.
effect
You're
you're
here to
talking about
deceive. It's
requires a
proven
temperature
on a
inversion.
daily basis.
If you make the claim you did about the sun being
you're
obscured,
deceiving people.
you'd have to realize that the temperature would have to be inverted in the atmosphere to achieve the effect you're talking about, and we know that
You're
doesn't
being
happen.
ridiculous now. You're just spewing nonsense.
I know you don't understand what I just said. Quite
Yeah, I
well.
know you got to say I don't understand.
You don't understand.
So you got to tell the audience that you're the smart one.
understand
But see, that tactic doesn't work anymore. You see, every time you do it now, we just call your dumb ass out.
No, you don't understand.
And then we'll put you
don't
on mute.
understand the refractive properties, do you?
Yeah, I
You
don't
know
understand
the
again,
refraction.
right?
Rumpus, so refraction makes things look refraction makes things look flat, right? Hold on, B-ball.
Thank you, Rumpus.
Does refraction make things look flat?
Because that's what your model's doing.
Does it make things look flat? It can.
Yeah, does bending light make the land look flat?
It could. But let me ask you a question. Since you're saying that the sun can be blocked by the flat surface, You're 4,000.
He never said that.
Hold on.
He never said the sun can be blocked by the flat surface.
Hey, Rakia,
So she likes
he's talking
trigonometry.
about the
You are
question. He
Back up
wouldn't
and
answer now.
recant your statement. He
He
never
wouldn't
said
answer
that.
the
We were talking
question.
about
Now he
the
wants to
atmosphere.
talk about it.
I'm asking Brian a
We were
question.
talking about the sun
bro.
being blocked by the atmosphere.
Can I get my-
I can block the sun with my thumb, dude. Okay, you're
That's
gonna
great.
tell
Yeah,
me
that's an obstruction. Yep, that's an obstruction.
you're acting like you know what's going on
Let me-
between
let me
you
ask-
and 6,000
let me ask
miles
you a
away, and it's
question.
dishonesty, bro.
You like trigonometry, right? Let me ask you this question. You and I are 4,705 miles apart, right? The sun is 3,000 miles high.
Who did you get this
What
bullshit
angle-
from? I know
what
you didn't
angle-
do it. Who did you get this bullshit from?
What angle should you be seeing? the
Who
sun
did you
from?
get this from, Earth? Who gave
Who
you
did I
this
get-
information? I know you didn't do this. You didn't
Where did
do
I
this
get what
trick.
from?
I could do the fucking trig. That's easy trig. Who
Okay,
cares?
you
Look,
can-
you already
Tell me
said the
what
fucking.
angle the sun should-
That's not his trig.
It
Tell me
doesn't
what
matter.
angle
It's
the
not
sun
going to be
should be.
accurate. My model does not, dude. My model is not a fucking egg-headed fucking just angles only model. My model is fucking refracted light, bro, over distance. Like reality.
So let me tell you the answer, right? So you and I are 4,000 miles.
Where did you get the answer?
4,700 miles away. Hold on,
You said
Where did you get the
4,700.
answer?
Yes, 4,700 miles away, right? So
You're
right now
reading.
it's one-
Someone gave you that,
105.
man. Why are you wasting our time?
It's about right over my head. So it's
Whatever.
So
about
how much
just
atmosphere? How much atmosphere?
Can I
Hey,
get
B-ball,
my-
how much atmosphere is between me and you?
Can I beat this out with anybody cutting me off, please? Please, I will give you the same.
Yeah, let's hear your bullshit trig that you didn't come up with, that you're just spouting off a page. Let's waste our time some more.
Yeah.
No, these are
it's
numbers
not
I
a
got from
problem,
Brian.
You can't explain it. You can't
Brian
explain
said
it. You can only read it.
I'm going with Brian.
Yeah, go read it again.
Rakia, trigger.
Let him read the question, Rakia.
Hey,
It'll make you happy. I'll give you the numbers.
Chaiki.
Very easy. No
I know
magic.
you're going to do it.
Rakia, Rakia,
I'll give you the numbers.
Rakia,
Hold
let
on,
Earth is
B-ball.
Life read the question,
B-ball,
please.
hold on, and I'll give you the numbers.
He's going to give you the
Why are you
numbers. We
doing
know how to make
anything for this
triangles
guy?
around here, Earth is
Why are you
Life.
wasting your time, Brian?
Why
he
you
gave me the
care,
numbers.
Rakia?
Why are you wasting? You're in here too.
He's
What the
trying to
fuck
act
are
like
you
nobody
doing?
knows any fucking simple trigonometry, dude. He's trying to
cares?
fucking act like he's above somebody, dude.
He doesn't
Hey,
know
I
anything.
know,
He
I know.
doesn't
Chill
know
out.
it.
I want
He
to
did
pivot
not
away from
do
this.
this.
I want to pivot
We're
away
testing
from
your
this.
model.
Just
Yeah,
chill
let's
out.
test you.
We don't care.
500 miles above.
You just said a light wouldn't disappear.
I'm not.
All right. So we're going to pivot away from this, like I just said 2 or 3 times.
Lord.
Let's talk. Let's have a conversation about something.
Let's all calm down for a second.
Yeah.
Did we lose
I don't
everyone?
know why the fuck are we always just screaming and yelling at each other. Why is that necessary? I don't,
So a
just
horse walks
don't
into
get
a
it.
bar. Bartender says, "Why the long face?"
Now, the atmosphere can block a light out. We know this. We've seen this. It's demonstrable, and it's objective. It's definitive. We know this for a fact. Why demonstrable? Why would you even deny that? Have you not seen it?
Okay, B-ball. Okay, B-ball. B-ball, hold on. Okay, that puts it at about 38 degrees. Okay, now what you're gonna do is you take that 38 degrees,
Brian,
and you're gonna
we moved on.
Yeah.
Don't worry. He's
couple
all he did
comments
was
when
give
I
you a
get
simple
chance.
trigonometry issue, and I do want to hear more about your refraction model instead of just a pop quiz about how to calculate triangles. And I muted
I'm ready,
a bunch
man.
of people because I don't know why we're all yelling at each other all the time. I don't get it.
You, Brandon.
I'm tired of it. It's old. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll bring it tomorrow. It's refined and ready to go, and it just pretty much says that as the sun gets lower toward the horizon, there's more refraction. Okay, that doesn't apply in their model, but it should. I mean, they have it where 15 degrees. They just say it's not at all.
You started
So
roboting,
you'll know
Brian.
what. All right, sorry.
No, that's okay. You seemed to came back. It was just for a minute.
But anyway, it's just a model, you know. They try and use they'll ask me, where did you get the numbers from and stuff? Reality. This is what I see in reality. Okay. And when I do the trigonometry, the sun's that high. So the same thing they do. They just say 7 over 6R, or they expand on that. Where'd you get that? Because they'll say reality. You know, it's the same thing. They act like it proves something, and it doesn't. They can't show the demonstrations like we show. They wish they could. They'll argue. They'll call names and say we don't understand, but they do not demonstrate shit like we do.
Got it. Hey, Chris Berry, what's up, man?
Hey, not much. Just wanted to jump in real quick if I could on the sun stuff and all that.
Hell yeah, go for it.
So there are a couple things I wanted to say. The first is, I think Dave Weiss has the best video on the sun. We've all seen it by now. He's got multiple videos that show, you know, the sun, it's dropping 15 degrees per hour, and then at some point above the horizon, I don't know how high it is, 10 or 15 degrees, it stops dropping, and then eventually after a couple minutes, it stays in the same spot and it just vanishes, right? It disappears into the atmosphere, if you will. And that actually is that is a flat Earth prediction, right? So the Globers always say, well, you can't make predictions on a flat Earth. Well, a flat Earth prediction, in my opinion, would be that's how it would work if there was zero atmosphere. Now, in that instance, obviously the conditions were just right. Now, most of the time they'll say, oh, but that's, you know, that we only see that every so often. Well, yeah, because the atmosphere is such that you see what we see, which is what it looks like, which is going over a supposed, you know, curve or horizon. But when the conditions are right, and the atmosphere, it's, you know, low moisture, low refraction, et cetera, Dave Weiss gets those results. Now, that's a flat Earth prediction, and that's what we expect to see. That's the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing is as far as sunlight goes, now this is more hypothetical or theoretical, I guess. For me, the way that the sunset, the light is at a sunset, it's kind of that V shape, right? So like if you're looking where the sun's already gone beyond, call it beyond the horizon, right? For sake of argument. So you can't see the sun disk anymore, but you can see some light. The further away it goes, the more of a V shape you get, right? So you have a concentration of light right at where the sun was, and then as you go, if you look left some amount or right some amount, the light is thinner, right? It's darker. It's a V shape. That absolutely would not happen on a globe Earth with the atmosphere picking up all the light from a sun 93 million miles away with such intensity. The light would, in fact, you probably would not have night at all, if at all. Maybe when the sun's directly, you know, to your zenith or something, or whatever, however you described it, if that makes sense, right? So, the sunlight would obviously perpetuate around, quote unquote, the ball Earth into the atmosphere because of its intensity, size, and all that stuff. That doesn't happen. What we see the light do on a sunset is a flat Earth predicted model. That's it. Thanks.
Can I also add? Let's not forget what Rob Skiba showed us with the sunset on a flat plane.
That's a good one. He was the first one to do that. So you're right. Shout out to Rob Skiba.
Yeah,
I think
that was a
going
game
too.
changer.
They always make fun of him because he used a Fresnel lens and say the atmosphere is not a Fresnel lens, but we see that kind of effect, right? We see that kind of effect in this pebble on the pond. We see it with these mirages all the time. When we look out, we see that all the time.
Then he had an expert come on and verify that. Then he had an expert meteorologist come on and verify that the atmosphere is lensing the light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's obvious. I mean, what that has to be happening here, right?
His sun changed size. Our sun doesn't.
Yeah, why doesn't the sun change sides?
It does.
You'd think it would change size as it goes from zenith to 90 degrees on a globe because of
it's not that much further away, Brandon. Brandon, if you got a sun.
Oh, hold on. I was in
Brandon,
the
if you got a sun that's
hold on, Brian. You would think it would increase in size or change size, since it's changing drastically the amount of atmosphere it's going through.
Yeah, I was
going
just
through a
trying to
different
answer
medium.
that, okay. Then you see you see a sun dog, and all of a sudden you have three suns. It's a parent, whatever it is. It's a parent, you know, and it's Nobody's got it figured out 100%. They act like our model ain't even possible. That's what aggravates me to death. They act like it's not even possible.
Yeah, that pisses me off too. Sunsets aren't possible on a flat Earth. Horizons aren't possible on a flat Earth. Like, how do you fucking know all this shit about flat Earth if we're not on one?
Brandon, I do agree with you though that it is an issue isn't the right word, but it is strange, right? That it looks like it's going around a curve, or it looks like this, or it looks like that. Why isn't the angular size changing like it should? Well, again, a lot of these things to me come down to the fact that's just the way that the conditions are. If the conditions are such that 95% of the time you see one thing, well, that's just the way the conditions are. But when the conditions change, you see something else. Sometimes you see more land. Sometimes you see, less quote unquote drop, which isn't really drop. It's just more refraction. The Globers used to say the sun doesn't change angular size, and then flat earthers started putting out videos showing that it actually does change angular size, even with the proper filters. They then said, oh, it's changing angular size, it's just not changing enough like it should, right? So it went from not changing to not changing enough. And that's all they do. They just change the story to fit their narrative. And it's just, that's not science. That's not scientific.
Well, if the sun was about 4,000 miles up in the air, how much would we expect it to change size going a few thousand miles away, 6,000 miles away? I mean, what is it, just going to shrink to nothing? Lights don't work the same way solid objects do with angular size. We all know that.
We have a new amateur astronomer here called AC Montreal. He filmed the sun a lot. Ask him if the sun changes size. With filter.
Is he in here? I don't think he's in here.
Yeah.
Well, but Chaiki, are you denying that sun changes angular size now?
It doesn't.
See, you don't even know the latest narrative. Your answer should be it does, but it's not enough.
Yeah, now there is a change on the horizon, distortion through refraction. 10 degrees and above the horizon, no, the sun does not change in angular size. It does
Left
not.
line got the memo.
Is that the new stipulation?
That's always been.
On the globe model, the sun changes angular size by 100% because it's not even there. And we're seeing a fucking similar size, but of something that's not even there.
God damn. Lordy.
I don't know if that works, but yeah.
I don't get that, but.
I went and looked at
let me explain that real quick. If they say the sun is already set, but if they say the sun's already set, but we're still seeing it through a fucking filter, and it's barely changed angular size, then in their model, the sun's not even there. It's already set, and we're seeing it through a filter. Dude, their contradictions, their doublespeak is baffling, dude.
That's just bullshit, Brian.
Hey, Chris Berry,
really?
you
So
said
your son is not
one
actually
thing that
already
was
set?
interesting. You said an interesting thing. You said if you're somewhere and that's the conditions, and they say it looks like that 95% of the time, then that's what the conditions are. And what I took that to mean is I think it's a little bit of sophistry when they say 95% of the time we see stuff disappearing from the bottom up and only 5% of the time we don't. Well, yeah, if you go to the same place or the same over and over and over again, chances are that place has pretty similar conditions. The variables are pretty much the same. And especially when you're looking long distance, it gets more and more homogeneous when you look through those distances. Because those small local effects aren't that big. They don't impact your observations as much. So if you look over 100 miles, it's going to look almost the same every time you look 100 miles, as opposed to you look 2 miles, it's going to look different. If you look, it's going to look very different. You understand what I'm saying? So
yeah, and more
we
often
should
than not,
expect there to be
clouds on the horizon,
a constant way it looks. That doesn't mean that just because stuff disappears from the bottom up 80% of the time, 90% of the time, that the Earth is a ball. That just means there is a phenomena due to those conditions and those variables that is causing things to look like that.
That's exactly
like
what
I said,
I mean.
bro. Listen. There's clouds on the horizon.
I just pointed the fact
clouds on the horizon more than half the time. They can't say 95% of the time because there's usually clouds on the horizon, and you can't even see the sunset usually up above the horizon.
That doesn't matter. Just pointed out that Skiba's sunset does not match reality. It's not
What he said, it's phenomenon though, Chikey. It's phenomenon. Different shit. Clouds, refraction.
Why doesn't
Fata
Phoebe's
Morgana.
sunset match?
because
What
he
about
changed
Phoebe's
the
sunset doesn't
size.
match?
He
It actually
changed the
doesn't.
size. It
It stays
does.
very close to what it was.
Does.
It stays very close to what it was.
No, very close, about half.
Yeah, but
What?
yeah,
What?
we don't
This
know.
guy's
we don't,
lying.
Go,
we don't
go
know his
compare
smoke
them.
length, and yeah, let's look at it and see what what did he use? What was his focal length, his zoom,
He used
and
the
all
phone.
that.
He used the phone.
Are you
Yeah.
talking about his refraction test? The sun changes in size by 50%?
No, yeah, where he's like there's like 3 images together of the sun, and it's 3 different sizes, but he didn't give any information about his focal length, his zoom. He didn't give any of that information about that image.
Howard, we see the sun
Okay,
3
let's
different
do it.
sizes at one time. I repeat, during a sun dog, we see 3 suns, bro. A medium-sized sun and 2 little suns. Okay, so that's all
like
at once.
that's
3
like a
different suns.
rainbow, though. That's like a
Yeah, but
rainbow.
that's
But it
not what
still
we're
looks like
talking
a
about.
fucking filtered sun, bro.
What, dude? I didn't hear any responses. I want to know what the Globers say about deep inside the rabbit's hole, sun disappearing in the sky.
Yeah, I went and looked at that, and you said that the sun disappeared at like 10 or 15 degrees above the horizon, but I'm not getting that out of it.
Well, that's not the point of the video. Maybe it's 5 degrees. I don't know or care how high it is. Why is it disappearing, and why does it stop dropping for like several minutes? I think it's at least 2 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. Can't answer that.
You think it's an interesting video?
Well, it's not to me. To me, any observations of the sun that aren't done through a solar filter to get rid of the glare, because you can't quantify the glare. You can't say this is 50% glare or 100% glare. You have to eliminate the glare to observe the sun and make any.
I think he does have a solar filter on at least one or a couple of those videos.
Yeah, you may have.
It's not
I
a
haven't looked at all
full,
of it.
blackout solar filter thing, but it does cut a lot of the glare out.
Yeah.
And then the glare, there is no glare. The glare goes away too because the sun disappears. Like it goes into, if Travis were here, he would be proud of me. It goes into the ether band. It looks like, because the flat Earth model says the sun is moving away from that position, and that makes complete sense. That if it's moving away, that it would eventually disappear from eyesight because it's getting too far into the distance, right? And the atmosphere is covering it up, and that's what it looks like is happening to me. I don't know.
Yeah, there are some videos out there that make some claims that have interesting observations. But observing sunset, everybody does and everybody can do. I mean, you can just get you a $12, $20 solar filter and use your phone and do the observation. You can make up your own mind about it.
It's kind of a black swan of the sunsetting world, isn't it?
Yeah.
We no longer can say the sun always sets.
Yeah, the only problem that I've got with the black swan situation is that's one in however many, and it doesn't represent the normal or what's seen most of the time.
That's what I said. Didn't you hear what I said?
I've got a solar filter. I've got a camera and I got a solar filter. And usually there's cloud.
But I don't know. I forgot your name, the guy who was talking. But I just said that. So for most of the time and most of the conditions, you're going to see a quote-unquote sunset. But that should be 100% of the time in any condition. However, what Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole did was he showed in certain conditions that doesn't happen. So it's what I call a black swan sunset, and it matches what you would predict on a flat Earth. You can't have that on a globe. You can't have the sun not going down 15 degrees per hour, stopping in midair, and then disappearing into the ether.
Yeah, and see, here's where the bias comes in, right? For you, the black swan leads you to question the reality that of is that what reality is? And for me, I I would neglect that observation because it doesn't represent what we see most of the time. And
that's
just
illogical.
That's
Yeah,
just
but the
bias.
black swan is a logical argument,
Not
bro.
illogical. No, the black swan is a broken argument, Brian.
We're not talking about the black swan. Just to clear things up, I think Howard, you're misunderstanding what Chris is saying. He's talking about that sunset observation being a black swan.
The only thing broken about the black swan is it broke the horizon. It broke R.
Yeah, but you know, I understand Chris's position that look here. Well, you know, and it lends to his narrative, but he questions it from a different angle than I do, and that's where the bias comes in. We see it two different ways. Just the black swan situation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's nice to hear someone say that they have bias, just to acknowledge that there is bias involved in this whole thing, to be honest with you. So I do appreciate that, Howard.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a good point.
Yeah, we've all got bias.
Did anyone else? It sounds like what you're saying is that if something disagrees with what you already think is true, you'll completely disregard it no matter what, because it's not what you normally see, so it doesn't count.
Well, I mean, if you look at 100 observations, and 2 of those observations are anomalous, then you might are those outliers? Is the other 98 observations representing reality?
Do you just assume that the other 98 are automatically what's always true, even though you literally have experienced that it's not always true?
Well, no, we would make an effort to explain that anomaly for sure. Not just throw it in the garbage. Look at it, analyze it. What could be causing this? How did that happen? Kind of things like that. I don't mean just throw them away.
Howard, let me give him an analogy here.
Why are we even talking to him? That's just stupidity.
Howard's cool. Let me give an analogy.
Your other
Bob, I think he was acknowledging that he has bias. I don't think there's a problem with that.
That's not
Let me give an analogy, Brandon, real quick.
If he's going to throw away observations because it doesn't
Hold
agree
on,
with
Brian.
everything else that he sees, that's just stupidity.
No, he's saying he sees something like that, and he's biased to think, oh, that's an exception. That's probably not a valid observation. There must be something wrong. We see it, and at least I do, and I go, that's interesting. I wonder why that doesn't look like the other ones, because I'm already predisposed to questioning the shape of the Earth. I mean, if you held a gun to my head and said, what shape is the Earth? I would say it's flat, but I don't know 100%. So I'm definitely biased towards non-rotating.
Yeah, I'm biased when I'm debating.
What he's describing doesn't sound like
a normal. It's not even possible.
I got you.
It sounds like he's deciding what data to use and what data not to use because he doesn't like one set. That's what it sounds like.
Well, we can argue about that. I mean, what is your? We can discuss that, Howard. What are the valid reasons for you to throw out that observation? I think you mentioned a couple, but why? What makes you so confident that that is some kind of anomaly or mistake?
Well, like I said, depending on what you're doing, I would try to explain those anomalies. I would investigate that. I would look and say, why is that way? This is an oddity. It's abnormal. I wonder why it's abnormal. And you would make an attempt to explain that. But the fact is that 98 other observations are consistent and persistent, and they're congruent. And so, would you take the odds on a bet that was 98-2?
Okay, let me ask you this question then, just to clarify. If you were making the claim that all swans were white, and then a couple of times you observed a black swan, so twice, 2 times out of 100 you observed a black swan, a literal animal that was a swan that was black, would you continue claiming that all swans were white for the rest of your life, or would you use that data to change your mind? That's what I want to know.
And see, you bring out a very good point where the black swan argument is not necessarily applicable in this situation.
I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying that the argument is legit, that has been used before. All I'm asking is just about this specific scenario, literal animals, If you were claiming they were all white and you saw two black ones, would you at least accept that data and say, okay, they're not all white? Or would you throw it away and say they're all white even though some are black?
No, I would accept that there are some black swan, but that's not that's not what we're talking about though.
Yeah, but
okay,
the black
that's
swan
fine.
shows.
No, I understand.
Go
If you
ahead,
don't accept it's a black swan, I understand that, and it wouldn't change your mind, of course. I just wanted, it sounded like what you were saying is that if you observed 98 white ones and two black ones, it sounded like you were saying that you would throw out the black ones and just keep claiming that the rest, that all are white. That's what it sounded
exactly
like.
what they do, man. Hold on. Now, the black swan.
Howard, that's not what it sounded like at all, just for the record.
Okay.
Hold on,
He's
Biodule.
clarified,
The black
and I
swan
understand what
shows
he's saying
the black
now, if
swan
that's
has you
what
arguing
you meant.
refraction, meaning not geometry. If you're having to
Maybe
say
not.
refraction, then your geometry is lost, bro. What don't you understand about that? If you're having to claim refraction, then you've lost your geometry, bro. You can't say 7/6R to figure out the freaking R, okay? You've lost. Y'all have lost. That argument smashed the globe
Brian,
through.
Brian,
It doesn't mean for sure the Earth ain't a globe, but it smashes your proof that it's
To
globe.
understand what happens to an object due to refraction, you do need physical dimensions of that object. You need information about that object, and then you can.
That is a crock of shit, dude. Okay, let me give you an
so
analogy.
if you don't know the,
Okay, so hold on. 98 times. Hold on.
Oh, go
Let him
ahead.
98
explain why.
times we're in a garage. 98 times we're in a garage, okay? And we see a light, okay? And we have that light at about just right in front of us, just a few inches off the ground. Camera's a few inches off the ground, straight ahead. 98 times we see that light. We open the door one time, and all of a sudden that light disappears, okay? So that just shows you, man, that it's refraction making light do shit. Okay, just a little change of temperature over 100 feet. Now you take 6,000 miles, and but really back to the black swan, man. Once you start invoking refraction, you've lost your geometry. I know you don't like it, but that's period.
No,
You've
Brian,
lost
that's
your exact
nonsensical.
measurement.
You know that that's nonsensical because you have to have the dimensions or some type of property of that object, be it height, be it width, whatever it is. You can have a baseline, and then refraction can do certain things, and you can say, okay, this is supposed to be angularly this size, but now it's bigger. I'm going to call this type of effect looming, for example.
Yeah,
but I have to have that
but you
baseline.
certainly can't measure R. You certainly can't measure R by using 7/6R.
No, not you wouldn't do it that way. You could still measure
that's how
a
they do it,
radius
bud.
with refraction, but you're going to come with different numbers. The point is
So
you try to
refraction formula.
eliminate or minimize refraction and then get averages.
Standard
But
refraction,
Make them give it. Make them give us the refraction. Make them give
How
us
did
the
they get the
refraction
physical
formula.
measurements of the sun?
Yo, we're talking over each other.
How did they get the
Yeah,
dimensions,
give us the
physical measurements of the sun, so they could see what it does through refraction, like you're saying?
Yeah, Jeremy, what were you saying, Jeremy?
Give us the fucking refraction formula you're using.
A great addition. So one way that
What do you
you
mean
can
great
measure-
addition? You're saying you can calculate for it? Let's see the fucking formula.
Jeremy, I'm gonna.
It is
I'm
a great addition because this is where you lose.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to ignore your question.
Okay, I know because you can't handle it.
All right,
Because
perfect.
that's where
So-
you lose.
Yeah, perfect. So the size and the information about the sun, as far as all that, you can use parallax here on Earth to get a good enough estimate of the distance, and then you can get the angular size to convert into something more meaningful, like kilometers.
We're getting way away from a subject that I don't think we really got to the bottom of. Biodil, you said that you need to understand the physical dimensions of an object in order to understand the refraction that is taking place. Is that correct framing of what you said?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. You don't know what the effect is doing to an object if you have zero information about that object. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's an excellent point. So let's take a
It is.
observation at 10 miles away, and I look at it. I look at it for 10 days in a row, and it looks different all 10 days. Is there any way that I can determine, based on those observations, what the physical dimensions are of that place 10 miles away?
It wouldn't be an accurate statement to say that you know. You can come to an average and say based on this, but if all 10 observations are vastly different, then no, I would say it would be irresponsible to say we know. Here are my numbers, here's the average, but I'm not confident at all.
Okay, not even vastly different. Let's say 9 of them look the same and 1 of them looks different. Can I say I know then?
Yeah, your confidence level would be raised. I guess you could kind of say I'm 90% confident that this is the norm type of effect or norm measurements.
How do I know that when I don't know what the physical dimensions are, and I need to know those and to understand how refraction is impacting it? How do I know that refraction doesn't impact it on most days the same way, giving me a false impression of what it looks like, what it is in physical
right, so that's
reality?
Fair. That's fair. What I would say is if everyone that's in voice chat right now were to do this each day for the next however many people are here, and we all take 10 observations and measurements of something, we can see a correlation of consistent results between everybody. And you're going to have some fuck ups here and there, and you're going to have some extreme.
He's not even acknowledging what you just said.
I am right now. This is how you would make that determination. So you don't base something off of 10 random observations that one person made. It's interesting that you present 9 out of 10 this effect happens. Now I'm going to do it. Now Jeremy's going to do it. Now Brandon's going to do it in our local areas under similar conditions. And we're going to see if it's consistently fucked up, if it's consistently clear, if it's, the measurements that we're getting are consistently and are similar to each other. That's how we would go about doing that.
It still doesn't tell us about what's happening in between. Even no matter how many people we have, we could have me, you, Jeremy, Brian, all standing and making observations 10 miles away. And let's say 9 out of 10 of each of ours gives the same impression. How do we know that that isn't just the baseline standard impact of the phenomena taking place between us and the 10 miles? We don't know that just because 9 out of 10 times something looks a certain way, that is in actuality the physicality of the real place. We don't. We are just assuming because it looks one way most of the time that it is physically that way. We cannot, there is an unknown there that we don't have.
I agree to you, but only percentage wise. But in that same fashion, if you want to keep that same energy, then there's no argument of it looks flat. The horizon looks flat. That argument is out the window now if you want to proceed that way.
Agreed. Yes, I've wanted to proceed that way for a long time. I think for the black swan, to me, only means that we are unable to determine, due to that argument I just made, what the actual physicality of something is from long distance observations. I do not think we can prove the shape of the Earth with long distance observations without making assumptions.
You can't show the actual position. You can't show the actual position of something because it's moving all over the place. And that's what BioDual emphasized, that you would need to know this, right? You said, isn't that what you restated that he said? You would need to know the physical properties of it, the actual as in the actual position.
You would need to know enough about what the effect is doing to it. As I gave, if you don't know the
formula.
If you don't know the height of an object and it looks like it's being stretched, you can't say that it is being stretched because you don't know the height. You would have to know the height to know, okay, at this distance, it shouldn't be that angularly big. So now, because I know the height, I know how much it's being affected. So yes,
cool. Let's see
know that.
Yeah, cool. Let's see the formula you're using to calculate it.
To calculate what now? Because now you're
refraction.
Hold on. What you're doing right now is you're questioning the dimensions of, or the shape, dimensions, or properties of the Earth, but you're asking for a formula for refraction.
You do you not know how to do the refraction measurements, so it calculates to be
no, I don't. Personally, no, I don't know. If you gave me all the variables that do go into refraction, I don't know how to calculate the actual.
So I don't ever want to hear you mention refraction again.
Do you know the formula for refraction?
BioDual, how could you use that as an argument when you don't?
Well, one second. I'm making a very good point. Jeremy, do you know the formula for refraction?
You're not making a good point, actually.
I know. We'll find out, right? Jeremy, do you know the formula for refraction?
7/6R.
Well, that's standard, but that's not the formula. Jeremy, do you know the formula for it? If you were given all the necessary variables?
L1 times L2. Sorry.
Bro, don't mention all your optical shit's out the window. You don't know anything about what the light's doing, where the actual positions of things are. You have no right to talk about any of this.
I know. So, Jeremy, what I'm going to say is because you don't know the formula, and again, I'm probably strawmanning, but you can correct me. Because you don't know the formula, you also can never bring up refraction for any argument.
I'm not claiming to know. I'm not claiming to have a formula that will give me the actual positions of things, am I? I'm telling you, you don't know. I'm not making a claim.
Right. I'm not 100% confident.
You're making a claim that Earth's the globe. We have the refraction numbers. We know how to calculate it. No?
Oh yeah, better people than me who are specialized.
you have the math to make it match your model, bro. That's all you got.
That's
right. You're the one making the claim, so
I
got the math
to
make it match your model. That's all you got, bud. It's the math to make it match your model.
Hold on.
I fit into a group of people, but I have made no claims so far. We're just discussing methodologies, processes, what we throw out, what we accept. That's all we've talked about, or me anyway.
So since we can't do it over long distances with these optical observations, we can't determine the shape of the Earth. In order to understand how refraction is behaving over that distance, we have to find some other way to figure out what the shape of the Earth is, right?
Yeah, it's like you were saying earlier. We have to fully understand the phenomenon that's going on in between the observations.
So sort of. There's going to be ways that you can minimize refraction. Literally, you can never get rid of it. I accept that. But minimizing, of course, you go to altitude. You're not going to have extreme effects. You can go more altitude. You get pretty minimized. You can get very close to measurements. The particular shape is done when you do these things, but the actual measurements will be not perfect, of course.
No, we just got done thoroughly going through how we need to know the physicality of the place we're looking in order to know how refraction is behaving in the distance between us.
I would like to make another point.
We can't just go higher and suddenly not have the same variables in play. Yes, there may be different variables and maybe different effects, but we don't really know what's happening between that distance, just as we didn't the first time. We need to know the physicality of the place, period.
Well, now we have a control variable. What we do is we do take an object, even just a building. We have that building at a particular place. We take 50 measurements at sea level at a distance. Now we get at altitude at that same distance, and we see what happens to that building. If at sea level we take 50 measurements, and let's say 35 are accurate to the known height angularly, so that's still pretty big margin. Now, if we go to altitude and 48, 49 are accurate, we know that altitude has a big part in showing us, closer to reality.
Biodual, consider this. Okay, now I mentioned this earlier, that around the equator, the stratosphere is around 35,000 feet. Around the middle latitudes, it's around 22,000 feet, and lower at the poles. So over long distance, on a flat Earth over long distances, the pressure would be getting lower as the sunlight crossed the equator, making it bend down. So, but then this pressure would be getting higher in the outer span, which would mean you'd get light, according to light refracting toward the denser medium, you'd get light stretching further around the borders, okay, and setting, crossing the equator, okay. That's using altitude pressure, atmospheric pressure modeling. The stratosphere varies according to latitude, according to the information I've gathered.
Oh, okay. Those sound like altitudes that we're not going to be doing these measurements at, but okay.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just saying on our model. Also, would you consider this a concentric sun, like doing concentric circles? Okay, if the sun is doing a circle and I'm looking off to the right, let's say I'm in Florida, okay, because I am. Okay, if I'm looking off to the right, okay, as the sun comes up, it's going to appear further toward the center. It's going to appear left. You could draw it on a piece of paper. I did it in a video. I drew a horizon and myself in Florida, and I just drew the path of the sun. So I drew it way off at the end of the circle, and as it comes up, it's gonna migrate toward the middle. Apparently, the perspective does crazy things. We're still working on it. I'm pretty close to nailing this shit down, man. As far as the atmospheric pressures, the so many factors, man. It's not just a sun going around a ball, man. I mean, that is a simple model. It works. I mean, it works when you add in refraction. The math that y'all add just makes it fit your model. Okay, it's a variable and in math to make it match your reality. That's nothing more, nothing less, man.
Baidu, you asked about the formula for refraction, right? Do you know it? Can you like give us a breakdown?
Were you not here when I said no, I don't?
Oh, you don't? Sorry, I wasn't here. I came in when you said.
Okay.
When you asked.
No, yeah,
about it.
Jeremy asked me if I knew the refraction formula, blah blah blah. I said no, I don't, and then he said I couldn't use that argument at all anymore. So I just posed the same question to him. He didn't correct me, so I think
I'm not making claims about. I'm not making claims about actual positions of items in the objects in the sky or in the distance.
Can I ask you another question? Do you understand that by invoking refraction, you're basically invoking Snell's law, correct?
Go on, explain. You got this.
There comes QE argument.
Yeah, it is a QE argument because that's the law of refraction, Snell's law, which needs two mediums, right? To have
Coming from a
refraction.
vacuum, if it's coming from a
But
supposed
it's also
vacuum,
known. It's also known that light bends down towards the denser medium through a density gradient as well. It doesn't have to be a glass of water. It can be the atmosphere's density layers.
Well, density layers are not two different mediums.
Yeah, they are for the purpose of Snell's law. Snell's law. The reason why Snell's law is using air and water is because it's an extreme difference between two things that you can experiment with in a lab. But when it comes down to Snell's law, it is two different density mediums. That's all it cares about. It doesn't care that it's air or water. It just cares about the density value and then the change of that density value as it travels.
Don't you ever feel like you're living your life like everything is backwards, like up and down instead of being down? In your model, it's toward the center of a ball. Okay, like in your model, 1 billion miles to me, that's a long way. In your model, that ain't nothing. And your model, a theory in your science, that's like the most certain thing there is, most proven thing there is a theory.
Right.
My model theory is, hold on,
I like what you said.
Almost done. Now, also in your model, science, it doesn't prove things. Okay, in my model, science is the only way to prove things. Okay, in your model, vacuums don't suck. The best vacuum in the world, near perfect vacuum, the whole universe big, doesn't even suck. And in your model, governments, NASA, they're honest. In my model, no, they're not.
That's false, man. There's a lot of straw men.
Coplanar point means in your model, bro. Coplanar points mean spherical access, bro. In your model, you quarantine the fucking healthy.
I mean, how many topics, man?
I'm almost done. In your model, bent light makes the ground look flat. And I mean, everything about your model is fucking satanic and backwards, bro. I mean, this list goes longer, but I'll spare you the rest of the list.
I don't want to expand on it, but none of that was religious, whether it be Satan or God. What the fuck? Anyway, there's many things that I do agree when it comes to our personal feelings. 1 billion miles, yes. In the scale of the globe model, as far as the universe ever expanding, relatively, yeah, it's nothing. In my puny human brain, 1 billion miles, I couldn't even fathom what that is. So yes, it is enormously big. When it comes to governments, NASA, whatever, I'm down for all their lies, man. I'm down. World War II, I think they knew Japan was coming, and they did nothing so they can get into it with them. I'm down for all these things, man. But when it comes to physics, when it comes to mathematics, when it comes to all these things, it's pretty much set in stone, the basics. There are plenty of things that are still being learned. There are still plenty of things being learned. But when we're talking about basic mathematics, we're talking about trigonometry, we're talking about all these things. That's done and done, man.
hold on, bro. My whole point is if it doesn't work on your model, and I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say whatever doesn't work on your model, you add a variable for your mathematics and call it proof, like refraction. If it doesn't match your model, like if the sun is really not supposed to be there, but we're seeing it, then you add refraction to make it work in your reality. The math is not proving that shit. It is just variables. It's basically fudge factors. They're using math dishonestly, calling it proof. Okay, I'm good with using the math to call it a model to make your model work, but to call it proof in reality, that is dishonesty, dude.
Brian, you know that we have to account for refraction, and it could be different values, but you know that we have to because we're looking through a gradient atmosphere. Obviously,
a better example, Brian. A better example of what you said might be dark matter, because that is just literally something they added and said it must be there because reality doesn't match our model.
There's a few examples of making these assumptions that ended up working quite nicely. The discovery of, I think, Neptune is a good example of this. Something isn't working based on a number of things. If we place a planet here of a particular size, now it works. So that was just a prediction. It wasn't confirmed
gravity
at that
period.
point.
Gravity period to make the model.
And found it. And then the same thing with other particles, where it was something is here, we're not accounting for it, so we're off. But if we do account for it, all other previous experiments are consistent when we do this. Now we need to find it.
They're not experiments, bro. That's what I'm talking about. They're not experiments. They're fudge factors like gravity. Gravity for M1 and M2. If it doesn't work with the planet, you just change the fucking mass of it to make it fit the model.
He said
I'm okay with that, bro. You're missing what I'm saying. I'm okay with you for your model changing the mass of fucking Neptune to make it fit your model.
It wasn't changing the mass.
It was that reality, bro.
It didn't
to say
exist.
that reality is not honest.
But we didn't look until we knew something was fucked up. There was a prediction made where and how big, and then they looked after the math.
Go ahead, Jeremy. Oh, you didn't have anything to say? Hey, I just wanted to make one point.
Hold on. Bio just said, basically, if you just insert a unicorn or a fairy or something crazy here, it all works.
No, you can do that.
What he's saying is that Neptune was an example of something where they said there must be something here. They guessed, just like dark matter. They said, well, we don't know what it is. We'll plug this in. Right. And then it turned out to be there. Yeah, I get it. I'm not sure I buy that whole Neptune story. I need to look into that a little bit more, but it seems a little too convenient. Yeah, let's just see something. But I did want to make a point. Brian said, called it a religion, and heliocentrism does seem like a religion to me. And do you understand why, Bio? Because I'll give you one example. Heliocentrism says we live inside of an explosion. We're on a little bit of an explosion that is still expanding.
That's crazy.
And inside this little explosion, because in the infinite scale, it is little. We're on a little tiny itsy bitsy sphere inside this explosion that has all the stuff we need to live on it for some reason. And we're following by some unseen force, undetectable force around a gas ball, a heat source, a light source that is the very giver of our life, just whisking away through this explosion. That
the first part of your story almost
crazy.
The first part of your story almost had it sound like we live on the eyelash of a giant or the back of a turtle or something, and this little explode. You know what I mean?
That is kind of what it is.
You know that doesn't depend on anything. The start of the universe or the Big Bang could be thrown out, but that does nothing for the Earth shape or the Earth interaction within the solar system. So to bring that in as if it does depend on that is a wild. But I understand what you're saying. The entire thing. And it's just the evidence so far. That's not a set in stone, we're never going to revisit kind of thing. It's just the evidence so far suggests this action happened X amount of time ago. If something else comes up, yeah, we'll scrap it, sure. But at the moment, it's the best, and that's all.
Bro, that's reasonable. But there are people who will sit in here and tell us that they can calculate and that we know how many atoms there were created in the Big Bang. That's religion.
Did Rumpus give me a number on that one?
Estimation, but I understand what you're saying. There's a lot of, I don't want to call it dishonesty because that's purposeful, but I think there's a lot of generalization, and the best example would be prove this, or I can prove this, and then the argument of, well, science doesn't prove anything. Well, it's colloquial. So yeah. We estimate amount of atoms. We have a high confidence for Big Bang, but we do say and have conviction about things. You're right, and that kind of muddies the water.
Yeah, and you said right there, we're not saying it's written in stone, and we're going to revisit it. We're not saying we're never going to revisit it. Well, this is us. This is us taking our own personal sovereignty and saying, you know what? We're going to revisit this right now. We're going to question every aspect of this for ourselves and make our own minds up. That's all I'm doing here. Because I got this little itch, inside my brain that's going, this ain't right all the time. I feel that all the time when I listen to these heliocentric stories and get told the supposed evidence for this model. All the fucking time. And I know I'm not that crazy or stupid.
Right, but you're your worst critic. That's the problem. And I don't think that I'm that stupid as well to believe in all of this when it's not true. So whatever convictions we have, whatever worldview we have, we are our own worst critics in changing our mind. You're 100% right about that.
Anyway, it's almost time to wrap up the show. Let me just kind of close it out while you guys are in here. Really appreciate the panel joining. We had a tumultuous first half of the show, but I really enjoyed the second half. And I did take a poll of the audience during the show. I asked, do you prefer insults and constant interrupting, calm, passionate discussions, or a mix of both? 74% chose calm, passionate discussions, and 26% chose a mix of both. So there is a place for both. But it seems like we should try to aim more for having reasonable, passionate debates and discussions. And
hey, Brandon, let me ask you a question. How much of a pain in the ass is it?
Just as I was describing, Brian, just as I was describing, though. It's not a pain. It's all right.
Okay, mute everybody and then unmute us.
Yeah, I could.
I was gonna say, why don't give a little time, a half hour, 45 minutes for the shit show, and then clear it up and let's have some discussions.
Yeah. Just let the first hour or something. Just let it fly for the first hour or the last hour or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Fair enough. All right. Anybody want to say their final words, especially those who didn't get to talk much during the show, before I close it out?
Yeah. I just want to say welcome to Flat Earth.
I got something with that dark energy, dark matter lecture that Tyson gives or used to give for the Smithsonian. He says basically that people are 96% dumb, stupid in the universe. If you try to apply the gravity, or the gravity, if they expand the heliocentric model out, it gets more and more bizarre until it doesn't even work anymore. I posted a clip in there about 8 minutes ago.
Cool. Thanks, Crit. Anybody else? All right, I will be back. I'll record. Sometimes the recording's on all night, just so you guys are aware. And thanks again for being on the panel for the show. Talk to you in a minute. All right. Not too bad. Interesting discussion on the second half. Thank you very much to everybody for listening. Thanks to those who supported the show via Super Chat. Peter Clark, Anamorphic Mind, Kango24, James Mays, Swamp Boy 34, and second thanks for James Mays. I think there was one more that this isn't showing me here. So if it is, I apologize for that. But thank you. Oh no, I think Peter was the first one. Anyway, thanks guys. Thanks to the channel members. Shout out. Thanks for being a member of the channel. And we'll see you hopefully tomorrow. I'll let you guys know as always. But check for the notification. And cool hanging out with you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
Understand.